Are we close to it?
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
Welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll open up the phone lines in a little bit. When we do, we'll share the number, but if you have any comments, questions, etc., you can always leave them in the chat on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Either way gets you. Liberaldanradio.com will bring you to the YouTube channel, and the other one obviously brings you to the Twitch channel. Easier way to get you there. You could also go to store.liberaldanradio.com and get to the Liberal Dan Radio store, where you could buy all sorts of things like the FDT or the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt. Hopefully more shirts will be coming on the way. Another one of the many ways to support the show. Best and cheapest way to support the show is to like, share, subscribe, get other people to subscribe, get those numbers up. We need the algorithm help because Al Gore needs more rhythm. And, you could also do things like buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button, or Venmo at liberaldan on Venmo. You can gift subscriptions here on Twitch, or you can use your Amazon Prime and get a subscription for free, or you can buy memberships for yourself or others here on YouTube and buy super chats and super stickers as well. So what did y'all think? Did you like the new intro that I came up with last day or two? I had a good time with that, but the new intro was the second thing that I created with AI over the course of the weekend. We'll let a couple more people trickle in before we'll play the first thing that I created, and because I will be playing the Liberal Dandruff parody one more time, maybe last time, because I think we could maybe put that one to bed, because I think this one particularly, I think outclasses it that I made in response. So we will see. I will have to play it one more time just to point out some of the things that I reference in my, clapback parody, if you will. First, though, let's say hello to everybody in chat so far. We got Mad Mac and Susie jumped in. We've got One Vision. We got Aaron, Chucker Johns in the house. Bicycle Mike live from his campsite. Tim, Krista, Jeff from just north of Uranus. I don't know if it's Suzanne again, but Suzanne, Josh, Progressively Independent. If I've missed you, John. We've got Steven, who is a wild Danimal for 6 months. Thank you for being a wild Danimal. Thank you for liking the new song as well. I was rather proud of it, and most 99% of those lyrics were mine. And the only I would ask it to suggest a lyric, and I was like, no, that sucks. And then I would write some more lyrics, and I'd say, suggest a lyric, and I'm like, no, that sucks. And then finally I'd be like, suggest a lyric, and finally one I was like, all right, the hypocrisy line, that's good. I'll modify that, but I'll accept the hypocrisy line. That works. Everything else was all me. I can't necessarily say if my rival over on WGSO does the same thing. Not part of his creative process, if you will. But anyway, oh look, Impeccable Living is in the chat.
Oh my.
Thank you for joining us. Oh my, indeed. Janelle's here. Roxanne. Let's see. Big Hook from the Great White North. Thank you for joining us, Big Hook. Big Hook had something to do with the other song that we'll be playing, the first song that I created, and you'll know why in a few minutes when we do decide to play it. Jolie's not in the chat, is she? Because there's a story I have to tell. I should have downloaded this song as well. I don't know. Maybe I could just bring it up and play it for y'all just in case, because let's see. Let's bring this up, because I can play it unless I deleted it. I don't know if I deleted it or not. Let me go ahead and try and see if I can pull it up, because this is part of my, because one of the things you can do when you're submitting, I guess, prompts to this Marika site or whatever, is that you can, let's see, hold on. Where is it? I think this is it, yeah. So let's copy the link address here and then paste it up here where I'm already logged in. Yes, we are here. So this is one of my initial attempts at the theme song. You can use other songs as kind of like a, hey, do it so it kind of sounds like this. And the song that I used was Judas from Fozzy, which is professional wrestler Chris Jericho is the lead singer of Fozzy, and the Judas song is what he used as his theme song. And there was actually a little bit times where I've like where I was going back and forth trying to get it to actually get the pronunciation of the words right, where I would actually have it, you know, sound right. But hilariously, there was an option to be able to use Summer of '69 as one, and I don't like Bryan Adams. Not that I don't like his music. I liked his music when I was younger. I just think he's an asshole. However, I'm not going to retell the story about Bryan Adams being an a-hole until Jolie shows up, because I promised I would tell the story later, and she wanted to hear it because but anyway, this version of that theme song that you just heard to open the show is, I guess, an alternate version, and it used Summer of '69 as a guide, I guess, to kind of give it some muse, so to speak. And it sounds like a Mentos commercial. So what do you think? Do you think this sounds like a Mentos commercial? Let me know.
A self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, an orange pasty thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red caps and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, Animals Unite, Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept, can't fight this new world order. Corporate pigs fight at the trough, you can hear them squeal. They won't bite the hands fighting them their next meal. But
let me just point out right here, I keep hitting my printer, because it said they won't feed the hands fighting them their next meal, but it said, the word actually literally said on the screen, feeding them their next meal, which is one of the problems I was having with doing this parody today, or doing this new intro, was that it would mispronounce like correctly typed words. Like I had to, for example, when I typed pasty, I couldn't write P-A-S-T-Y. It kept on wanting to say pasty. Like I had to write P-A-Y-S-T-E-E to get it to phonetically pronounce pasty correctly. And then it was mispronouncing thief, and then I realized, oh, I misspelled thief. So that was my bad. But yeah, so that totally, to me, sounded like it was a Mentos commercial. I should be like, Liberal Dan, the fresh maker, or whatever. Anyway. But it's the same words as the one that opened the show, but maybe a little bit modified, because I made some minor changes to kind of let the flow go better. But I'm more proud of the one that we did that I did to start the show, and that's probably going to be the new start at least for a while. However, I got 24 people here. We can do this one. We can do the early. We could do this. The early people can hear this. I'm sure I'll probably close the show with both the theme song and the parody from the parody war now that we have. Because the parody wars have begun. Anyway, so just to remind y'all what spawned this all, because I had called into Jeff's show, I had said how his creative director was not, was a waste of money if they were spending any money on him, whatever. And he had to make a parody in response to me, a so-called parody or whatever. So here's the Liberal Dandruff song that we've been playing a couple times. There's a couple of points in there that I want to point out, and then we'll hear my version of or my next shot or clap back in the parody war.
Out of the blue, liberal Dan got some bitter things to sling. Says my AI is unlistenable, a waste of time. But this big shot,
I mean, his AI is unlistenable and it's a waste of time, but you know.
leftist ain't worth a dime. Liberal dandruff, you're just a flake. Living in a world where facts don't make. Peddling hate and acting tough, but you're nothing more than liberal dandruff.
And MB Brody, remember what Big Hook said in response to that as to me being liberal dandruff. Just, and then...
Dan makes plans, but they all crash down. Like the coyote when he hits the ground. He'll build a trap like the fuse so tight, but boom! Dan's the one blown out of sight. Liberal dandruff.
And if you hear right there, it's Feel Like I Do by Peter Frampton that got played in the middle to ruin, like, his already horrible thing. But that's the other thing I wanted to make sure to point out. But yes, the music is playing 2 tracks at once because they were playing it towards the end of the show, and apparently they don't know how to turn off the end of show music over on WGSO.
You're just a flake, living in a world of facts don't make. Peddling hate and acting tough, but you're nothing more than liberal dandruff. Liberal dandruff, all talk, no grow, just a snowflake with no place to go.
Oh, I had a place to go, all right, and I sure as hell went there. Here you go. Here's my clap back.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.
And scene. So there you go. So there you go. Head and shoulders above the rest. Thank you for Big Hook's contribution to the lyrics of the Clapback parody. I had a really fun time writing that, so I figured y'all might enjoy that. I don't know. Steve asks, are we really doing this? I mean, it's not Scottish, and so I guess Steve might not like it because...
If it's not Scottish, it's crap!
That's right. So, anyway. So, thank you, Trucker John. Appreciate you. But I don't know. I thought of the 2 parodies, ignoring the technical snafus that they had when they started playing Feel Like I Do, which is why I threw in, if you listen, you'll feel like I do. I thought mine was a little far superior. But I'm going to challenge Jeff. This is what I'm going to be like, hey, Jeff, here's my clapback parody to old Steve. I dare you to play it live on the air. I doubt he will. But, you know, I could be wrong. It's happened once or twice before. But, you know, I did have to put up a little bit of just a few shekels, so to speak, just to, you know, whatchamacallit, to get the credits to be able to do those things. But it's going to open up the ability to do some more stuff. Like maybe I'll be able to make a new intro that can be played on both Twitch and YouTube as well. So that's probably the next thing I'll work on. So maybe by the next show I'll have a new instrumental to just lead into everything. We'll see. Anyway. Steve, I'm just saying, you folks know. We know, Steve. I know you're just picking on us. Let's see, Josh, why do they sound like 90s corporate television? Like the guy that was, making fun of me, or the AI? Because the AI is just, I put in like, use this singing voice and go. And that's just what AI came up with. So, let's see. Well, Suzanne just saw Coyote. Well, they just referenced the Coyote in the Liberal Dandruff parody or whatever that is. So anyway, it's Orvillaby over in the Twitch chat. I'm late in responding to you. Good to see you, Orvillaby. Thank you for joining us over on Twitch. So anyway, did I miss anything? No. It's obviously the first thing we got to talk about from the weekend. Title of the show is the No Faux-King Tyrants, because his little vanity parade took place over the course of the weekend, and Donald Trump showed that he doesn't understand how weather works, and he thinks that the I guess the meteorologists were out to get him when they predicted that there was going to be rain, but clearly his followers don't love him as much as he might have thought they would have, because true MAGA patriots, true MAGA, dyed-in-the-wool followers of good old Donald Trump would have come out, rain, sleet, snow, hail, whatever the weather conditions, chemtrails, they would have come out en masse to support old Donny Boy, right? I mean, maybe it's probably because he held the parade in a city that 97% voted against him. Maybe that's part of it. But you'd think that his, MAGA, deplorables who still continue to support the BS that he does on the daily, you'd think that they would have driven from South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, the rural areas of Virginia. You'd think that they would have made the drive to go support their named, self-proclaimed king in his little wannabe, military parade, wannabe tyrant parade, so he could be just like Lil Kim, so he could be just like Kim Jong-un, because that's the type of person he wants to be like. I mean, he's jealous of those folks. He's jealous that those people don't just get military parades, they get, listened to at full attention. If you hear what Donald Trump
Here's the White
said,
House.
Could happen. I mean,
We talked about that yesterday
I would
with
have
Mike
him.
Pompeo.
Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he's the strong head. Don't let anyone think anything different.
Right.
He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Well,
he speaks and people sit up at attention. Donald Trump wants his people to do the same. Now, I had to go look and find this to be sure. Now, this is posted on Brian Tyler Cohen's Facebook page from Saturday. So this is a clip from Saturday. In my memories, he also said the same thing in 2018. So this is something that he's been saying for a while now. This isn't new. At what point do y'all so-called patriots, which is why I called y'all faux patriots in the new show intro, at what point are the so-called patriots going to say enough is enough? I asked this at the last show as well. I'm probably going to have to ask this every show. At what point do they say it's enough? Clearly they're never going to say it's enough because they can never admit that they're wrong. But he wants y'all to act like North Koreans. He doesn't want y'all to act like Americans. He wants y'all to act like North Koreans. How can anybody say that this is in any way, shape, or form an American idea when he literally wants you to act like people from another country? We don't get in line behind people and worship people like kings. You know, we fought a war to create this country. And while I probably disagree with the founders on vast many things, including the fact that, you know, black people should be considered, you know, 3/5 of a person, and that slavery should remain legal while, you know, we work everything else out or whatever. You know, plenty of things that were wrong with the founders. But I think one thing that all of founders agreed on was that they didn't want a king. You know, hell, even the hyenas under Scar in Lion King didn't want a king. If the evil hyenas know that having a king is not a good thing, maybe if we can learn more things from hyenas than we can from MAGA supporters, that's a pretty dangerous proposition right there. Anyway, so, yeah. More people showed up in opposition to Donald Trump on Saturday than showed up in support of Donald Trump. And of course, his followers are all trying to make excuses and trying to, you know, say horrible things about the people that came out, or try and be like, oh, well, or maybe even try and spin it to make it seem like, oh, well, Donald Trump, you know, all these people came out against a king, and, well, Donald Trump's not a king. Oh, he proclaimed himself king on his official channel. Like, these people don't understand, like, why we were having no King's March. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because your boy, Donald Trump, posted on his official White House page, and this is old news. It's because he posted that he's a king on the official White House page. Had any Democrat done that, y'all would have flipped. But here's the thing. No Democrats would have done that. All the people want to say both parties are the same, man. No. The Democratic Party would not tolerate anybody doing that bull. Even if it was Barack Obama, even if it was Bill Clinton, nobody would have tolerated that BS. We all would have said stop it. But here's the other thing. I'm fairly certain that neither of them would have wanted to do that either. One of the vast differences between the two. I understand that there are people who have problems with both parties. I have criticized my own party plenty of times. Hell, I criticized my own party the other day very vociferously on a particular topic. I'm not going to stop just because it's members of my own party. But they, MAGA, seem to never want to be critical of members of their own party unless they're going against Donald Trump, in which case they'll call them rhinos and just, you know, brush them off. Anyway, let's see. Trump is a nationalist. The Republican Party is dead. I don't even know if it's a nationalism. I mean, it is nationalism, but it's like Trumpinalism or whatever. It's like nationalism, but only nationalism if it's Trump. So, this is Steve's birthday. Everyone dress in your kilt colors, yeah? Well, do I have to sing happy birthday in a Scottish accent? Is there a different way to sing happy birthday to a Scotsman? That's, you know, is there a different Scotsman song that they would sing happy birthday than just the wee happy birthday song that everyone else sings? I don't know. I do not know. I cannot know. Anyway. I'm not Scottish, so I guess I'm crap. Does that mean I'm crap if I'm not Scottish?
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
I guess. At least according to Michael Myers, eh? So, let's see. RFK Jr. is, you know, being a frickin' moron again. And we will go more on RFK Jr.'s issues now as they become more and more revealed. According to an NPR article, ancient miasma theory may help explain Health Secretary RFK Jr.'s vaccine moves. Health Secretary RFK Jr. has upended medical research and public health in the U.S. in many ways. One of the ideas that could be influencing the overhaul of federal health agencies dates back to ancient Greece. If we go over to the Wikipedia article of miasma theory, also called miasmic theory. It's an abandoned medical theory that held that diseases such as cholera, chlamydia, or the plague were caused not by, germs, not by little microorganisms in the air, but caused by noxious forms of so-called bad air or night air. The theory held that epidemics were caused by miasma, emanating from rotting organic matter. Through miasma theory is typically associated with the spread of contagious diseases. Some academics in the early 19th century suggested the theory extended to other conditions as well, i.e. one could become obese by inhaling odor or the odor of food. Miasma theory was advanced by Hippocrates in the 5th century of BC and accepted from ancient times in Europe and China. The theory was eventually abandoned by scientists and physicians after 1880, replaced by the germ theory of disease. Specific germs, not miasma, cause specific diseases. However, cultural beliefs about getting rid of odor made the cleanup of waste a high priority for cities. It also encouraged the construction of well-ventilated hospital facilities, schools, and other buildings. And even though, ventilation in hospitals, used to work in one, and you would have negative pressure rooms, because even though it wasn't bad air that caused, diseases to spread. It's the germs, but some germs are transmissible via the air, so you want to have the negative pressure in those rooms so that any germs in those rooms can't escape the room. But it's still germs, it's not bad air. But old RFK Jr. Wants to support it. Let's see. In a book Kennedy published about 4 years ago, The Real Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the Global War on Democracy and Public Health, the now health secretary harkens back to the miasma theory. He says miasma theory emphasizes preventing disease by fortifying the immune system through nutrition, reducing exposures to environmental toxins and stressors. But that's not what miasma theory is. So not only does he harken back to an outdated, incorrect theory of medicine, he doesn't even have that theory of medicine correct. It's like me saying I support the rhythm method for contraception, and the rhythm method means I need to dance well. And then let's see. Someone else in an article cited, I will categorically say that miasma theory, as historians of medicine and science understand it, is not what he is saying it is, period, says Nancy Tomes, a historian of germ theory at Stony Brook University, who wrote The Gospel of Germs, Men, Women, and Microbes in American Life. But Kennedy's take may help explain some of his policies, especially about vaccines. The miasma theory is the notion that there are environmental poisons, not necessarily rotting organic matter, says Dr. Paul Offit, a vaccine expert at University of Pennsylvania. For him, those environmental poisons are electromagnetic radiation, pesticides, and vaccines. To him, vaccines are a modern-day miasma, and that's dangerous, many experts say. And that is why RFK Jr., most likely why, RFK Jr. Went ahead and fired everybody who was part of the advisory committee to make decisions about vaccinations, etc., and why he's now stocking that committee with people who are idiots, who are uninformed, and who are not experts, and also who have no idea what these previous experts who are now fired were discussing about these topics prior to this meeting, so they can't really have any sort of informed meeting whatsoever, putting the lives and the health of people in these United States at risk because of the fact that we do not have a science expert, a medical expert, etc., in charge of the Department of Frickin' Health. And that's one of the many things that we're going to get, and one of the many reasons why we're going to see many more unnecessary deaths in this Trump administration, because the people he put in charge are not the best and the brightest, they're the worst and the dumbest. Anyway. So, no, they struck that down. Happy Birthday is public domain. I mean, I have sung Happy Birthday on the show, so nobody came after me for singing Happy Birthday. Dan, we demand a song. I mean, do I need to sing it in a Scottish accent? Or I don't have a kilt. If I didn't have a kilt, do I have to sing it in a Scottish accent, or must I sing it in a Scottish accent regardless of if I have a wee kilt or not? Let's see. In Scottish Gaelic, the phrase for happy birthday is, I cannot pronounce that. You can also say La Breth Sona for happy birthday. Steve, please educate. Let's see. Haggis birthday to you. Haggis birthday to you. Do you eat haggis, Steve? Is haggis something that you enjoy, or do you get tired of people asking you if you like haggis because you think it's disgusting? As long as it's we. Well, thank you, Susie. That's the problem. See, that's the if I sound Irish, it's because I don't sound constipated enough. I've got to sound like I got to take a wee crap, and that way I'll sound more Scottish. Is that better? So, Steve's, no you don't. It's all cool. All right, that's all good. I'll still sing it to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve from across the pond. Happy birthday to you. There you go. So, do we river dance for it? Well, I didn't do it in an Irish jig style type. Whatever. Should I plug into AI? Do happy birthday, but to a theme of an Irish jig. Anyway. Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance. The Irish jig guy? His legs flail about as if independent from his body. You're welcome, Steve. It's my pleasure to sing you a song, as good or as bad as it may be. By law, I must sing you the song, and...
No one is above the law in this country.
Thank you, Pam. So, anyway. Yes, so... Old Donald Trump is, or at least Eric Trump and the Trump organization, will be launching Trump Mobile, i.e. Trump phones, because Trump steaks, Trump ties, Trump this, Trump that, Trump water, Trump University, all these other things worked perfectly well. So what would anybody have, to be worried about when it comes to buying a phone from the Trump organization or from the Trump company or whatever Trump branded thing that you want to have or wouldn't want to have in my case. But yeah, there is now going to be Trump Mobile. Let's hear ol' Eric Trump and what he has to say about the incoming Trump Mobile and what we might expect from this new offering by the Trump family.
And now we're doing Trump Mobile, and Trump Mobile is going to revolutionize cell phones, mobile call.
We have the best phones. Nobody's going to have better phones. Nobody has better phones at all.
We're going to do it better. We're going to do it safer. We're going to have more.
We're going to do it better. Nobody does phones better.
Functionality, more features. And the coolest thing about all these ventures is we're doing it right here in the United States. You're not
except for when we're not
calling up call centers in Bangladesh. You're not, you're doing it right out of St. Louis, Missouri. And you're going to have phones that are made right here in the United States of America. And they're going to have, it's going to.
Are they now? Are they?
Be cheaper, $47 a month. You're going to have more international.
Well, $47.45. But, because they had to do the play on numbers, because that's fun, right?
Dialing for free, hundreds of countries, international dialing for free. It is the biggest bang for the buck, and we're.
Nobody has more countries that they can call for free, even though it's not for free. It's included in the cost of the cost, and other cell phone companies that do, they're announcing this. First of all, they're announcing this as a new mobile network. This is a new mobile network. Let's see, Trump, according to the press release from the Trump organization, let's flip back to here. Trump Mobile launches a new wireless service for Americans. So it's not for anybody else. It's just for Americans. If you're not an American citizen, you can't get it, I guess. Are they going to do a citizenship check? They're going to check your ID. They're going to see whether or not you can buy one of these, stupid phones or not. June 16th, New York, New York. Alongside the team from Trump Mobile, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump unveil T1 Mobile. Now, T1, are we getting Skynet too? Is that how they're going to pay for the low price of $47.45 because they're going to be creating Skynet with it? The transformational new cellular service designed to deliver top-tier connectivity, unbeatable value, and all-American service for our nation's hardest working people. Yeah, okay. I'm incredibly excited, says Eric Trump, blah, blah, blah. Announced on the 10-year anniversary of their father's launch of his historic presidential campaign, Trump Mobile is the next-generation wireless provider. So it's 6G? You saying it's next generation, so it's 6G, right? Right? No, it's not. It's going to be 5G. Trump Mobile will offer 5G service, so it's not next generation. It's still 5G. But I thought 5G was bad. I guess 5G is okay as long as it has the Trump label on it, right? And it will offer 5G service through all 3 major cellular carriers, so it's not a brand new service. It is using and piggybacking off existing service like many other, like consumer wireless and other types of, cellular rebranding. Boost Mobile does. Other types of mobile phone services will resell, time used on other platforms or whatever. And actually I think some of those other ones are even more cheaper than Trump Mobile. But MAGA folks are going to clearly want to pay more money to have themselves a new Trump phone. They got unlimited talk, text, and data, complete device protection. That's apparently not insurance, but it's still protection. So is that like, a condom that's not a condom? I don't know. 24/7 roadside assistance through Drive America. Wouldn't it be like Make America Drive Again? Wouldn't that be more on brand? I don't know. Telehealth services. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. That's exactly what I want. Telehealth services via Trump Mobile. They picked RFK frickin' Jr. to run the Department of Health. Do I want Trump Mobile now in charge of my telehealth? F that. That is not a feature. That's a bug. That is not a selling point. Maybe it's a selling point to these wackaloos. Donald Trump loves the poorly educated, and, the highly gullible folks who have voted for him multiple times may very well believe that these telehealth services, they'll be like, you won't get woke doctors on Trump telehealth. You'll get, real doctors who prescribe you things that you can't get from regular doctors like ivermectin. Maybe I'll have to do a new Liberal Dan Chopper City where we give you a preview of the new T1 phone from Trump Mobile. Free international calling from more than 100 countries, including many with American military bases, but not all with American military bases. Are some military bases being left out? Why? Why do you hate our troops? No contracts, no credit check. Well, clearly you can't have a credit check these days because the economy's in the shitter. Customers can make the switch to Trump Mobile with just a short phone call to 888-TRUMP-45. Trump Mobile's best-in-class customer service team. How is it best-in-class? How do they know? How have they judged that? Or are they just able to say that just because they can? They'll be available 24 hours a day to assist. Do we try and call Trump customer service right now to try and see what they're saying? I don't know. I think if I did that, I have to tell them on the air, and then they would probably just hang up on me. So, no, we're not going to do that. But maybe I'll try it another day. Who knows? While customers can easily switch using the current phone, Trump Mobile is also glad to announce that it will release the T1 phone in August. A sleek gold smartphone engineered for performance and proudly designed and built in the United States. Is it really? Do we really believe that it's built in the United States? I don't believe that it's built in the United States, and other people don't either. If you go to appleinsider.com, you will see, let's see, it says a T1 takes on iPhone 17, maybe. The constant calls and pressures from the administration of President Donald Trump for Apple to make its iPhone in the United States are well documented. It's therefore apt that Trump Mobile will be offering its own smartphone to consumers as well. The T1 is described in the Trump Mobile press release as a device that is designed and built in the United States. This nationalistic claim is also a shot at Apple, which often uses the phrase designed by Apple in California, followed by a statement about phones being assembled in India and China in most cases, clad in a gold color case. The T1, why is it an orange? By the way, it should be an orange case instead of gold, but I guess, you know, is it really, it's gold colored, so it's not even, probably even gold. It's pyrite, much like Donald Trump. You know, so you have a 6.8-inch punch hole AMOLED display with underscreen fingerprint sensor and an AI face unlock. All of these parts will need to be imported for the phone. There are no domestic AMOLED display manufacturers, and the VCSEL used for face unlock technologies is also produced overseas. So is Donald Trump telling the truth when he says, or is Eric Trump telling the truth, or Trump Mobile telling the truth when they say that these phones will be made here in America? Nope, they cannot and are not. Now, I think there's another thing where Eric Trump is being interviewed by somebody else where he probably admitted that at some point down the line when more manufacturing supposedly is brought back to the United States, then the phones will at that point be manufactured in the United States. But I don't believe that Donald Trump will ever bring back manufacturing like he claims he wants to the United States, because I don't even believe he wants to bring it back to the United States. I think he's just using those, you know, words just to get political points, but actually do anything, much like, you know, he claimed that he wanted to do mass deportations, and now he's claiming that he's not going to deport some people, you know, farmers and people working in the service industry, etc., because people have been complaining to him that they don't want that to actually happen. I'm sure he himself has been complaining to him because, you know, he doesn't want to let go of the cheap labor that he hires at Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster, and I'm sure many of the other places that he, you know, owns and hires cheap labor at. So, I mean, also says something about the battery capacity is a generous 5,000 milliamps, but there are plenty of phones that have that or exceed that amount of battery power in the phones. It's also very cheap to bring along with you a portable battery that has many more much more power capacity than that. So it really doesn't matter at this point whether or not it has that or not. So this Apple Insider, a reskinned import, while there's a lot of bravado that it will be US made, it took social media about an hour to find out where the phone actually comes from. In a post to X by analyst Max Weinbach, it seems that the T1 closely resembles the T-Mobile REVVL or Revel 7 Pro 5G. The specifications of the display and the odd camera resolutions match up with the T-Mobile device, along with other details. So on Twitter he goes, taking bets now, which ODM makes this hardware and who does the software? I'm using Meizu does software, hardware maybe Doji, whatever. The answer is Wingtech. Revel 7 Pro 5G, the same device as the T-Mobile Revel 7 Pro 5G, custom body Wingtech, now owned by Luxshare, makes it in Jiang, Wuxi, or Kunming, China. So the smartphone is made by Wingtech, owned by the Chinese-owned manufacturer Luxshare. The T-Mobile version is believed to be built in Qichang, Wuxi, or Kunming in China. The T1 appears to be a reskinned version of the Revel 7 Pro G. For the Amazon price, you don't get gold-colored trim, of course. The smartphone is on sale, I guess, retail for $250 or $169 on Amazon. But how much is the gold-skinned version of this? Of course, the gold-skinned version is like $499. So Donald Trump is going to milk, or the Trump family are going to milk their customers by selling them a phone that's gold-plated and has T1 on it for an additional $100 or $249 more dollars or more. But a sucker is born every minute, and most people that wear those red MAGA hats are absolutely suckers. There's a whole bunch of information on the Trump Mobile website. Let's see what we get with telehealth. Not a lot of information, actually. 24/7, 365 availability, so I guess if you're on a leap year, you don't get health. Board certified providers, what board? Video or phone calls. Secure communications through your Trump mobile device. Would you trust this to be a secure device? I'm sure these things are going to be so loaded with bloatware. And they're probably going to have something deep in the user agreement that's going to basically say they can stuff your phone full of bloatware, and that's why you're going to get it for so cheap because they're going to sell all the information that you give them so that they can make a whole bunch of money on the back end off of your data. But, you know. Let's see. You also get a pharmacy RX benefit. 125 medications available at your local pharmacy. Only 125. $0 acute medicines at your local pharmacy. Diabetes program included. Up to 80% off all other prescriptions. So, they're probably, using GoodRx and some other things along with that to just kind of piggyback off of that. Is that what they're probably going to do? Who knows? What else? Yeah, so plan details, limited talk, limited texting, unlimited data. But do you really believe that it would actually be unlimited? And look, and even the last thing I guess I want to point out here is that here's the T1 phone. Make America Great Again. Why did they just call it MAGA Mobile? I mean, to me, it would have been smarter to just label it MAGA Mobile. But no, they called it Trump Mobile, and there's your little American flag and the T1 on the back, of it or whatever, and it's all gold, whatever, gold colored. But price $4.99. You have to put a down payment of $100. Status coming soon. So what does that mean? Just like your watches, just like all the other things that he was selling during the campaign, these aren't really phones. These are just concepts of phones. Do you believe that you're actually going to get these phones, or are they just going to collect your $100 and then be like, oh, Trump Mobile's bankrupt now, we took your money, sorry. Anybody who tries to buy one of these phones is an idiot. Plain and simple. But we all know that. But at least, you know, if they're not wearing their red hat that day, anybody you see walking around with a gold phone with a giant T on the back, you can at least know to stay freaking clear of them too. So at least that's another sign that they'll be able to show you that there's somebody who's not safe to be around, to stay fully clear, because they're either, you know, taking ivermectin for their COVID or whatever else they're doing to get, you know, their health advice from, you know, doofus RFK Jr. Maybe they called up RFK Jr. directly on the Trump phone or whatever. Anyway, if you know, want to buy one of these phones, you'd probably get more bang for your buck just contributing my Patreon instead. You probably get much more benefit. Just saying. Anyway. So you were paying for him to bring it to this country rather than him doing it as an investment, then trying to sell it to him like a normal person would do. Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. Let's scroll on back. What's Roxanne imagining? What's it, Jeff Curry? On Jeopardy category song titles, Blue Oyster Cult and Don't Fear This. Oh my God. What is the Reaper and I Need More Cowbell? Yes. I was watching, I was someplace the other day and the kids were like playing video games. I think it was Dave and Buster's. And they had Jeopardy on in the background and had the closed captioning on. And they said something to the effect of it was songs with the sun, or with song or whatever. So it was like one of the questions was, we had joy, we had fun, we had blank. And I was like, what is Seasons in the Sun? That's easy enough. And it was like, this band sang the song Black Hole Sun. And the person's like, what is Nirvana? And I'm like, probably one of those days where I could have destroyed them all at Jeopardy, because that frickin' Nirvana, give me a frickin' break. Steve, oh, for fuck's sake, this Trump guy again. I'm shy, but let's go back to talking about me. Let's see. 250 km turn up your volume, please. I'm on a bicycle. You're not loud enough. Thank you. I don't know. Did my things go down? Let's see if my sound settings got messed up again. That's the output. No, my microphone should be good. I don't know. I don't know why you're not hearing it as well. Maybe you're just having bad wind. I don't know. Not like gas, but like a bad wind or something. Impeccable living. I think about Dolly Parton and you cry sometimes. Hey, 007 Kevin, good to see you. I need a boombox in your bite. But you might. If you have a boombox on your bite, you should play the new parody that I wrote, the counter parody, the slapback. I so want him to play that frickin' song live. I mean, he won't, but it would be hilarious if he does. The only problem if he actually did play it live is that might actually bring some of his listeners over here, which I don't know if I really want. I know it'll help the algorithm, but I don't know if I want all 7 of them calling into the show. I mean, I'll debate him, but I don't know. I mean, all 7 of them. Yeah. Trump Mobile. We don't Trump calls, just our pants. Nice, Jeff. Or Trump Mobile. We don't drop calls, just our pants.
It is what it is.
Whenever it drops a call, it just plays that, you know. Trump, or customer service, why did you drop my phone?
It is what it is.
Trump, why can't I dial the person that I'm trying to get to?
It is what it is.
25 per phone on Metro. Yeah, exactly. So you're paying 25 per Metro. I think it's 20 on another one. And so it's like, so you're paying $22 less. Now, does Metro give you telehealth services though? I'm surprised they haven't turned it into an MLM. So let's see. Jan, birthday song for him was Credence Wealth and Privilege during the Vietnam Song Fortunate Son. Yeah, I never understood why people who are patriots like get jammed to that song. Like, do they not? I mean, I would say do not listen to the lyrics, but these are the same people who were jamming all along to some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses, and didn't understand what machine that Rage Against the Machine was raging against. Then all of a sudden they're like, wait, these guys are on the left. Well, no shit, huh? Let's see. The coyotes were after the cats in the neighborhood. Ugh. You got national, whatever, Wild Kingdom. Was it Lauren Green's Wild Kingdom or whatever it was? Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? Is that what it was? Yeah. Trump phony phone. Get it now before the company goes bankrupt. That should be like the liberal Dan Chopper City. Be like, you doggy. Donald Trump mobile phones went out of business before they started. So we got our hands on a whole bunch of gold-plated phones and we're lining the deals up for you. Something like that. Exactly, Stephen. Assembled in the USA of foreign parts. Yes, pyrite equals fool's gold. Perfect for him. That's why I said it. T1, trader number 1. At least he's got something right, at least. Yep, exactly. Surrender monkey. See, he's using the threat of ICE raids over their heads as extortion. Yes, he is. Do you actually believe what his family says? Not a chance. Not one bit. Hunter needs to sell that would be hilarious. Buy Hunter Biden's laptops. The Biden laptop. That would be great. That would be a great clapback against them. So let's see. My cat is demanding attention, as all cats usually do, right? I'm surprised that Rosie hasn't popped in here with us. To Suzanne, they played Van Halen at the birthday for Dinky's birthday. I ain't listening to Van Halen anymore. Why not? What's wrong with Van Halen? Oh, is it because they played Van Halen at Trump's thing, and that's why I mean, they play YMCA or whatever when Trump does his little jerk motion thing. I mean, it's not YMCA's fault, is it? They were playing, I think they were playing, watch a minute. What's her face? Oh, what's her name? I can't believe I can't remember her name. Lizzo, About Damn Time was being played during Trump's birthday. I mean, it's about damn time. I'll start singing that when he resigns, or if he passes to natural causes, right? Susie, I think bikers are kind of wanting me to stare and drool. Why, do you like the folks in leather? I mean, I do have a whole bunch of the Liberal Dan Chopper City ads. I don't know if that's going to make you drool or not or whatever. See, it's simply more likely a gold-colored glass back replacement, simple glue gun adhesion. I'm sure. They wear their fight shirts and other maggot crap, so I tell them that if they stop wearing stupid stuff, I'll stop playing my rap song as loud. Fair enough. You should, if you're around a manga person, you should start playing the Liberal Dan Radio theme song. That'll be posted to YouTube shortly after the show is finished. You miss it, Bigley? I miss it, Bigley. I miss the bikers, Bigley. Anyway. Anybody here miss the parody? Didn't hear my clap back parody yet, and don't want to have to wait for the end of the show? I don't know. The song I play is FDT by YG. Solid choice. I approve. My name is Liberal Dan, and I approve this message. Anyway, what's the last thing I wanted to record about? This? Yes, I think it's this. Yeah. So, Donald Trump, as we, I think we discussed this a little bit on Wednesday, he begged and pleaded for Israel to not, please don't attack. Please don't attack Iran. Don't do it. Please don't do it. And they did it. Which just ultimately helps to show how weak Donald Trump is. Because he asked them to do something and he's not going to do it. And did Donald Trump then say that he's going to, be the one that helps mediate the situation? Mr. If I become president, the Ukraine-Russia war will be over on day one? No. Donald Trump has said that he wants Vladimir Putin to have a role in what's going on. He thinks Vladimir Putin should be the one who's involved with all of that. How the hell is Vladimir Putin somebody who is trustworthy to be able to settle a peace deal when where he's shown no willingness to have peace in his own war? But he's going to be one bringing peace between Israel and Iran? How dumb are you? How dumb are they? I mean, we all know that Donald Trump is a freaking idiot. But, again, it just shows that he's just a completely weak and ineffective president. We wouldn't have any new wars. And Donald Trump believed that he was going to be able to bring Iran to the table. And now Trump is trying to spin this whole thing into making us all believe that, because now Israel is attacking, he's like, well, now Iran's going to have to do something before it's too late. I'm frankly waiting for Donald Trump to start pulling out his old, Iran doesn't have the cards. They don't have the cards. They can't win. They don't have the cards, because that's his go-to line, apparently, when it comes to people who are losing military conflicts. They just don't have the cards, even though after Donald Trump said that Ukraine didn't have the cards, Ukraine destroyed billions of dollars worth of military hardware of Russia by striking deep into Russian territory. So I guess they did have some cards there, did they? But waiting for Iran to be like, do not tell us that we don't have cards. Actually, that's more of a Putin accent. I'm sorry. Say we don't have the cards again. Say it one more time. But yeah. But Donald Trump, again, back in his first term, he, with the whole conflict with, Syria or whatever, he ceded power to Putin with the whole Syria issue. He gave Putin more power in the Middle East. People would ask me, well, why was there no war by Vladimir Putin? Why didn't Putin invade Ukraine during Trump's administration? Well, he didn't have to. because Putin wanted more power. Trump ceded power in the Middle East. Trump actively worked to weaken NATO. Putin didn't have to lift a frickin' finger for him to gain more power and more influence globally. All he had to do was look at his good old boy Donnie. And Donnie would do whatever he wants. Right? But now Donald Trump wants to cede even more power to Vladimir Putin in the Middle East, because Donald Trump's not trying to be the world leader that the president of these United States is supposed to be when it comes to, leading on global issues. No, he's going to pass the buck and let Putin be the one in charge? Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, that's not necessarily treason in and of itself, but it should be morally treasonable to believe that it's a good idea for Donald Trump to cede power to Putin on anything, let alone a potential escalating global crisis. And speaking of other things as it pertains to the whole Iran-Israel conflict that's going on right now, well, there's several things in my head about that just I kind of need to rattle off. Because of the fact that, Iran sucks, right? I mean, Iran's a terrible country. Can we just all agree that Iran is a terrible country? And we don't have to agree with all of the actions that Israel does. We can be opposed to much of the actions of the Israeli government and not critical of everything that they do. Like, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of somebody taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities. If they, in fact, were able to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, why would we complain? And if for some reason that would help a new regime take forward that would be more progressive, that would be better when it comes to the treatment of women, when it would come to the treatment of like LGBTQA folks or whatever, maybe that would be a good thing as well. Maybe. One would think. But no, there are people out there who insist on criticizing Israel for every single fucking thing that they do and justifying every action against Israel because it just happens to be against Israel. And I will absolutely criticize Israel. You've heard me on this show criticize Israel plenty of times. Criticize the Israeli government, criticize Netanyahu specifically, and I've criticized Netanyahu since well before 10/7. And if one of the pictures that we've seen from these strikes is correct, that Israel did on like the bedroom of one of the people, you see that Israel has the capability of having surgical strikes and attacking with very pinpoint precision where people are. Which just goes even above and beyond to tell everybody that the Israeli government's actions in Gaza have been deplorable, because if they could do smart missile attacks against Iranian folks who are involved with the Iranian nuclear weapons program, they could have done the same thing against Hamas and not drop massively large munitions that would just blow up entire large areas that would kill indiscriminately. So yeah, we should absolutely be critical of Israel for what they've done in Gaza, especially when you compare it to what they've done in Iran and say, yeah, you could do it there, why couldn't you do it here? But to sit here and try and say that Israel is escalating something here when it's Iran potentially escalating by building a nuclear weapon. Now, would diplomacy have worked? Under Harris, maybe. I don't believe that Donald Trump has a single diplomatic bone in his body. I don't believe that there is any possibility, that there was any chance in hell that President Donald Trump was going to be able to diplomatically solve the problem of the Iranian nuclear weapons program. So if that's the case, what do you do? So I'm not going to sit here and be critical of the fact that Israel took a shot to take out Iran's nuclear weapons program. I'm not going to criticize them for that. I'll still criticize them for, again, the way that they attacked Iran shows that they could have attacked Gaza much more strategically, much more surgically, targeting only the Hamas leaders and nobody else, and minimizing civilian casualties. And maybe if they would have done that, they would have had a little bit more support on the world stage. But, again, we all got the information, and you heard it here on Liberal Dan Radio, talk from left, that's right, that Israel knew that the attacks were coming and did nothing to stop them. Because, in my opinion, Netanyahu figured that it was better for him to respond to an attack than to prevent one. Because he would then be able to use the response to the attack to distract from his criminal issues. Which just proves he's even more of a piece of crap. But, again, a lot of what I've seen going on in these last few days, when it comes to people criticizing Israel's attack on Iran, that's not comparing what they did in Iran versus what they did in Gaza, just smells a lot of anti-Semitism. There's one person who I know that shared a picture of a Star of David that was not the Israeli flag, and with a message that was critical. I'm like, dude, do you not see how this is anti-Semitic? I don't even want to share it because I don't want to share anti-Semitism. And also, I'm afraid that YouTube might be like, oh, you're sharing anti-Semitism, because anti-Semites are allowed to share anti-Semitism all over the place. But when I've exposed it, social media companies have been like, oh, you're exposing anti-Semitism, that's sharing anti-Semitism, ban or block or delete or what have you. Anyway, yes, correct, Susie. What they are still doing in Gaza, you are correct in saying that. But yeah, they are still attacking Gaza in a way that is inappropriate. They are still responding to 10/7 in an inappropriate way. Even Donald Trump is begging Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza. Only because it's embarrassing to him, because I think Donald Trump believed that he was going to have all these things figured out. He thought the war was going to be over in Ukraine. He thought the war was going to be over between Israel and Hamas. He thought there was going to be no new wars. And now not only does he have the two going on, he now has a third. So, which is, again, just goes to show how weak and inept he is. But we all knew that, but his sycophants won't ever admit it. Anyway, I'll go respond to the comments in the chat in a second, but agree, disagree with what I say, leave your comments down below, like, subscribe, have a good day. Again, I've recorded several of these, but only ended one with that. So, what is up, Lokira? Good to see you. Thank you for joining up. I try to be up to good, but I did have a new parody earlier. When I end the show, you'll hear the new parody. Let's see. What did oh, we have somebody saying more liberal BS, eh? What's going on? Let's see. Did he only say one thing so far? I want to know what the liberal BS is. What's the liberal BS, David? Tell us. Let us know. Inquiring minds want to know. Here we go. Here's what we'll do. Before we go talk about the domestic terror attacks that took place in the state of Minnesota, because that's what they were, domestic terrorist attacks in the state of Minnesota, we will go ahead and open up the phone lines. 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. David, call in. Come tell me why what I'm saying is liberal BS. Bring it on, bruh. Love to hear it. The challenge has been extended. The line is open. You are free to call in 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261, and I'll be more than happy. I will not share your phone number with anybody. Nobody will see it. Just let me know it's you that's calling, and you'll just leave your name, say this is David, and you can let me know what you'd like to say is BS or not. Let's see. Steven, tell us how you could be better than Dan. Or do better than Dan. Well, he has the opportunity. I've opened the welcome mat. The welcome mat is out, is rolled out. The red carpet is all unfurled, ready to go. All you have to do is call in. Just call me, and you'll be, just call me. See, I thought I had downloaded this image, and I was going to go design this while I was waiting for somebody to call in. I just hadn't actually downloaded it. So, I will do that in a second whilst we're waiting for a phone call. Now, of course, if David doesn't call in and someone like Big Hook does want to call in, you know, you're more than free to do it as well. But, you know. Wait, I usually have the microphone or the volume off.
It is what it is.
So I had to, thank you, Donald, because I don't want to have people hear the phone ringing, so I don't usually get to play audio whilst I'm waiting for a phone to do a run ringy-dingy and two ringy-dingies or what have you. But anyway, we will still change the background of the show about the Minnesota domestic terrorism. And of course, Big Hook is a gentle person waiting to give others a chance, and we appreciate that. Even though, let's see, give David a little more time to drink some more courage. You never, I mean, it might not be drinking courage. It could be smoking some courage. It might be eating some edible courage. Who knows? You never know. Sometimes you never can tell. So we will wait and see, though. We will wait and see if Mr. David wants to call in and let us know why what I'm saying is liberal BS. But, you know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt as well. This lemonade vodka tonic is glorious. So it's vodka and tonic and lemonade all at once.
Oh my.
How many more of those things are you going to take before participating in regular nightly activities? Or do you not, or is it just, do you not need them, you just like to partake in them? Yeah, Mad Mac, keyboard courage is too afraid to have someone actually talk back live. That's true as well. I mean, I guess what, we've had a couple of conservatives call in. We've had Manasseh call in from, I think, up in Minnesota, or I think it's Minnesota. We had Gibson call in from North Carolina. We've had Bringing It Boy from the old Blog Talk Radio days, who would call in from time to time. Every now and then he'd call into the show, and also his lovely wife. They would both call in from time to time. So we definitely have been welcoming to conservatives on this show to call in. But despite that, David is still choosing to not say anything. Let's see if he's still here. Oh, still there. Name still pops up when I do a @ Usually when somebody's not there and I type an @ it won't do it. Like if I type @JO, I get Josh and John Deaf. I don't get Jolie. But if I do @DAV, I only get David HRSM. So David is still here. He's still in the chat, apparently. But you know, it is. Wait, I'm sorry. That's still Donnie Boy's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. I ended it early just in case somebody did try and call. But you know, it is what it is. You can go ahead and call in Big Hook. If David dilly-dallies and strikes up and gets the courage and misses it by 2 seconds, then he'll just have to wait till you'll get off the phone. No problemo with me whatsoever. Because we love hearing from Big Hook. We'd have no problems hearing from the other side of the aisle. We have no problems debating, discussing politics. We have no problems finding out why they think what I'm saying is BS, and as such, counter their arguments with facts, logic, and reason. Because that's what we do. But, you know, we love Big Hook. So impeccable living. So I was checking out at the grocery store the other day, and this woman behind me was clicking her thin duckbill acrylic nails on the conveyor belt. I wanted to say, make like your hairline and fall back, but I'm a firm believer in karma, and I'm not going to get moderate to severe plaque psoriasis in the near future, so I kept my mouth shut. Hey, man, plaque psoriasis is terrible. My wife has herself some plaque psoriasis. It is not fun. Oh wait, there's that. There we go. There we go. There's Big Hook on the line. So you liked my parody, Big Hook?
Yep, it was pretty good, I gotta say. I think I gave you a good little contribution there that you managed to make use of, so I'm glad it all worked out.
It's probably what gave me the actually just go ahead and bite the bullet and do it, because I was like, that line's just too good to not clap back with. So, it is what it is.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you don't push back, trolls get encouraged, and they just, they'll keep trying to steal the spotlight from more important things, and that's the thing, right? So that's what you got to do. You got to beat them at their own game. That's the way I see it, anyway. So, but that was a good weekend. I mean, I was very happy that everybody complied and protested peacefully and made the little mushroom military parade pretty much a non-event. I mean, let's face it, that was pretty sad there with tanks. You could hear the wheels creaking and whatnot. And
like the best thing I saw was it was like somebody showing just the squeaking of the tanks rolling down the street, and then the same energy was that person who did the break dancing at the Olympics. That woman that did the break dancing, and it was just like it just has the same energy. I'm like, that's perfect. That's just perfect.
Yeah, but the worry I have is that, like, what happened in Minnesota, and then I think there was another incident apparently in Wyoming where a maggot apparently went and hit two people that were marching as well. They claim that we are the lunatics, yet they are the ones that do all the crazy stuff. They shoot up large gatherings. They use their cars and things. You get DeSantis, who goes and says, oh, yes, you have the right to legally run these people over if you feel threatened by them. I mean, like, this is where, the language and the rhetoric just are insane. Like, when DeSantis passed that thing there in Florida, that should have been a federal crime, and they should have just locked him up right then and there for that. Because you're basically saying, oh, it's okay to kill people, because you politically disagree with them. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, they claim that we're the crazy ones, and yet it's never us that do the crazy things. It's never us that are walking around in public with open carry and all the rest of it. It's never us that and every time you look at the backstory and the history, it always ends up being that they are right wing card-carrying KKK members or whatever, and they believe that this fantasy that they have, which is that they are somehow superior with absolutely no proof or achievements. I mean, the thing is that yes, you can become a better person. It just requires education and the willing desire to learn and whatnot, and that's what gets me, especially with religion, because it's like they're platitudes, but they're all masked in, mysterious mumbo jumbo, which doesn't make any sense, and it's like, we'll mix a few morals in there to make it seem legitimate, and then the rest of it is all, spiritual hogwash, which I don't agree with. I don't know. The thing I see more and more is that Republicans are devolving into Russians. They, you see all the human crimes that Russians do. They shoot civilians. They tie their hands behind their back. They go and they bury them, and they do this and they do that, and then they, it's just, and you're like, who are these people? They're not even people. They're, there's a reason why the Ukrainians refer to them as orcs, because they have no thought process whatsoever, and the cruelty is always at the extreme. And the thing is that when they get caught, they go, oh, mercy, mercy, and then when you extend the mercy, they go and they do the worst possible thing. They say, oh, to get back at you, we're going to go and kill a whole bunch of your civilians who aren't involved in the war, while you go and take out all of our military hardware. Right.
They ask for mercy, but then when you give them mercy, they view it as a sign of weakness, which is like, what? Doesn't make any sense. Oh, say hello to Jolie. She just came in the chat, so you might want to.
Okay. Hi, Turtle Toes.
I like turtles.
Always enjoy chatting with you, and one of these days we'll talk turtle, and you can explain to me how turtle doves came about. So, I really, really worry where this is all going, because, like I said, it's stupidity on steroids, but it's lunacy to the highest order, masquerading as a Christian fatwa, more or less, which is ridiculous, because everybody's life got better when everybody made a contribution to society. Yes, if you weren't the smartest, maybe you were the hardest worker in some manual fashion or whatever, but the thing is that the ability to improve yourself is far superior now than it ever was. Right. Now you can use AI to tutor yourself and to learn all kinds of different skills that you never knew you needed or had, AI still worries the shit out of me, because I see it being used for inherent evil, where, it's being used to surveil and stuff. And it's the same thing they use it for. Robert Reich had a thing there the other day on privacy surveillance, and they were like, they go and they collect your data, and they figure out who you are and what ads to target towards you, but also, they are doing up a political dogma thing, like the Cambridge Analytica all over again. They're using it to figure out whether or not you are the kind of people that they want to target, or they want to make sure that you don't get things, or let's say they know that you're from a wealthier background, therefore they will only offer you a higher price on the goods as opposed to whatever, so that way they know how to target you based on the data that is out there. There's so much of that stuff out there now. And that's the thing. I really do worry where we're going, because this capitalism at all costs, where you have to produce a profit every single time, and there's, and it's push, 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 and it's like we're destroying the planet at an accelerated level to where I don't know how we're going to recover. I don't know.
Well, it's
Do I sound as crazy?
No, I mean it's reasonable concerns. I mean, I've, you know, did I discuss this the other day or not? Like one of the things that I, recently, I guess when I was hearing some of the criticisms that another local radio show host was talking about was the fact that that he didn't like a particular thing. I think the thing he was talking about was the carbon sequestration or whatever, like take carbon capture, and he didn't like it because it doesn't produce anything. I was like, well, what do you mean doesn't produce anything? I mean, technically you don't produce anything. I don't produce anything technically by talking, but I mean, one might argue that I am producing content, but I mean, what does producing something mean in the grand scheme of things? Like if you're not actually creating a good or providing a service, or is that somehow bad? And that's maybe ultimately one of the main differences between people on the left and people on the right, is that we see a reason for doing something because of the good of doing it, whereas they see something as only good is if you can get a benefit out of it, like if you get like a personal benefit of it, like you actually make something that's tangible. And then if they can't see it as being a tangible thing, then they can't understand it, with the exception, weirdly enough, of God. They'll fully embrace God that's not tangible, because they'll fool themselves into thinking that they can figure out ways to, quote, see God through other means. But everything else, if you can't see the tangible thing, somehow it's just, a bunch of malarkey or whatever. I did look up, just wanted to see what the text of the Florida running over protester law says. It's basically worded in the same way that the Louisiana law is worded, is that, DeSantis obviously was incorrect in how he was describing it technically, in that you have to be reasonable in your belief that the threat against you justifies the use of force that would take somebody's life. That's the only time you're technically allowed to use the thing. But when I was at Cider the other day with my wife, and we were talking about I guess the whole running over the protesters thing, and I was like, I brought up the whole, because like the Louisiana group had brought up the similar thing where you can run over a protester if you want. I'm like, well, you have to be reasonable in your belief that your life is threatened, and B, we all know that these rules only exist because for white people use, because if a black person tried to use these laws to protect themselves after running somebody over, we all know that the law would not protect them. And then two complete strangers that I'd never have a conversation with were just nodding, just like, yep, we agree with you wholeheartedly. So, I mean, that's what, because we saw like Marissa Alexander and at least one other person in Florida who were black who tried to use so-called self-defense laws and were denied it, even though they never actually shot somebody. They just shot in the air. In the case of Marissa Alexander, she shot it in the air in her house. So the bullet was buried in the drywall somewhere, but she was somehow guilty of a crime, whereas George Zimmerman was outside and shot him and shot Trayvon Martin and was allowed to do it because George Zimmerman was white enough passing and Trayvon Martin was black. So these laws that allow people to get away with running over protesters are only available for folks who are white complected and not darker complected folks. So
yeah, but that's the thing. It's a double standard of how the law applies. If you're a Republican, you get a total different set of whatever.
Yeah.
And then if you're a liberal, it's like, oh, we'll change the interpretation because we figure that because you told us that it was a stupid law, we will make it so that way it applies to you and punishes you 10 times worse than it will punish us. Because
right.
We're totally nonpartisan, I mean, that's the way the law is supposed to work, right? I mean, it's that kind of stupidity. I mean, it's just unreal. I mean, the thing is that, and the worst part is that the politicians know that if they say it with all the right dog whistles, that there will be that lone wolf out there that will take advantage of it and interpret it as a sign from God or from a higher power that gives them the permission to go out there and, create a mass casualty event, and that's just it, It's dangerous. It really is dangerous. And, And they know that it's dangerous, and they know that it has consequences, but because they figure that because they're politicians, that there's no way to hold their feet to the fire. And, you know, this is where everything has gone sideways because, you know, you don't say stuff that can be loosely interpreted into whatever you want. And this is the same thing with the Supreme Court. Oh, well, we are textualists when we want to be, and then we're, you know, different when we don't want to be, and we, you know, we swing, we pretend to swing both ways, but, you know, it's always in the favor of the rich,
Yep.
you know, and the stupid, you know, and that's the thing. I mean,
textualism thing drives me nuts. Like, whenever they start talking about being textualist, I'm like, no, you're not. You're not textualist at all. If you were a textualist, you'd never bring up the whole argument of, quote, states' rights, because those words never don't exist together at all at any place in the Constitution. But yet, the so-called textualists will use those two words together. The textualists are some of the biggest hypocrites out there when it comes to constitutional crap.
well, exactly, and that's just it. You know, like I said, I'm really happy that the No Kings protest worked out, and that, you know, you guys did it in a smart and thoughtful way, and, you know, for the most part, you knew. Unfortunately, you sort of could almost predict that the lone wolves would come out and pull shit. You know, I think there was another one there in Phoenix where they caught a guy there that pulled a gun out when he saw the protesters, but the cops got him out of there and you know, and made sure that nothing more became of it, you know. But I don't know. I really hope that you guys get it all together and you figure out what's what. But I think in order for any of this to happen, you have to take the bad actors out of the formula, because that's the thing. You have Fox News, you got OAN, you got Newsmax. They all, you know, scream the biggest lies possible, you know, but you can't do much more with it other than that, you know. And until that problem is resolved, you're not going to be able to fix any of the others. So, but anyway, I have gotten my call to go back to work. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it short today again.
That's fine. Have a good one. Thank you for the call. Appreciate you as always, and you have a good rest of your night at work.
Thank you. You too, Dan. Head and shoulders above the rest.
Thank you so much. See you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, we will open back up the phone calls for a smidge, but one of the things I do want to talk about, if you call and I don't answer you right away, it's because I'm recording something real quick, because I do want to talk about this thing real quick, which is the example of Minnesota domestic terrorism. Vance Bolter is the individual that was arrested. Shooting two Minnesota lawmakers, had a hit list of 45 officials that he wanted to go after. Killed two others are in critical condition, but 45 people were on his hit list. Now, if this isn't classified as domestic terrorism, I don't know what is, because this clearly had an effect to terrorize people. Political assassinations are rare. They strike at the very core of our democracy. Acting U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson for the District of Minnesota. Details of what happened, he said, are even worse. They are truly chilling. His crimes are the stuff of nightmares. Vance Walter, 57, apprehended Sunday night after what Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley called the largest manhunt in state history. Thompson said the suspect went into the homes of 4 Minnesota state lawmakers with the intent to kill them. He said Bolter was disguised as a police officer, drove a black SUV with emergency lights turned on, had a license plate that said police. He carried a 9mm handgun, wore a black tactical vest, was disguised with a realistic silicone mask. Thompson said the suspect banged on lawmakers' front doors in the middle of the night. This was targeted against individuals who answered the call to public service. Let me say this clearly, political violence has no place in this country. Of course, this is somebody who is FBI special agent in charge, Alvin Winston. The FBI is in charge, led by Kash Patel or whatever, and the FBI those are the same people who made excuses for the J6 protesters, who fully brought in political violence and were shouting things like "hang Mike Pence." And these people, called the J6 defendants, who were all pardoned, political prisoners. But I don't know if FBI Special Agent in charge Alvin Winston had any role in any of that, but his bosses were involved in naming these people as political prisoners. So when you and your administration pardon 1,500 people for political violence, that's going to encourage more people to commit acts of political violence. And you shouldn't be surprised when it happens. And is this really what conservatives want? Do they really want this sort of escalation? Because look, there are leftists out there who have no qualms using the same sort of violence against y'all. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm not saying I condone it. What I am saying is that if y'all start pulling that BS, there are going to be others who are going to do the same. They say you reap what you sow. What happens when they start seeing the after effects of, reaping what they've done sown? If it becomes clear to people that the only answer that we're going to get, that we can get as a country as a whole, to conservative political violence is leftist political violence, then you're going to see a lot more political violence coming from the left, which requires this administration take this person seriously. That this administration, that the Trump administration, go after. It's not just about state charges. This needs to be federal charges as well. Need to come down against this guy. Do we believe that Donald Trump and the Trump administration is going to go after this guy? Do we believe Pam Bondi, same Pam Bondi who said,
"No one is above the law in this country"?
Do we believe that she's going to go after this guy with federal charges on top of the state charges? I have no faith whatsoever, because these people made excuses, made exceptions, and, were making damn near martyrs out of the J6 political prisoners. But you're then going to see the people on the left who have no qualms using violence to strike back against the right wing in this country. Hell, the people on the far left don't see a difference between the people in the Democratic and Republican parties. But if you conservatives make y'all seem to be the bigger threat, then y'all may very well reap what you sow. Don't play that tricky game. I mean, there were posts out there trying to claim that this guy was a liberal or some sort of leftist. No, this guy was a conservative. There was a deleted post by former governor, I think of Wisconsin, who basically was suggesting something about him being left, and now he deleted it. Of course, on the internet, everything's forever, and people took screenshots, so you can't outrun all the horrible things you do and say on the internet. But yeah, this is the direct result, not just of the violent political rhetoric of MAGA and Donald Trump, but how Donald Trump and MAGA folks have aided and abetted domestic terrorists and have emboldened these people to act. And that's why people like Vance here act the way that they do, because they feel emboldened by this administration. They feel emboldened by the people this administration has put into place, which makes the situation in this country even more scary. So either this administration has to get up and do something about it, or what's going to happen is that other people are going to come around. Again, not me, but there's going to be other people who are going to take their lessons from your inaction and be like, well, if you're not going to go after these folks in the way that's going to make it clear that political violence will not be tolerated, then they're going to do political violence in turn. And you will, again, have reaped what you sow. Simple as that. Anyway. Let's go ahead. We'll shut down. It doesn't seem like anybody else is calling in, so we can just shut off the Do Not Disturb thing. It does. I don't believe that Mr. David is going to call in. Let's see. Progressively Independent. The feds took over the case. I don't know how it will go. I don't know either. Again, I have no faith whatsoever that this administration will do the right thing. Not one bit. No faith whatsoever. So we already talked about Trump phones. We talked about... There was one more thing I did want to talk about. It's not about this, but it is about... I saw this article. Extremely disturbing and unethical. New rules allow VA doctors to refuse to treat Democrats and unmarried veterans. This is from The Guardian. So I'm a little leery as to whether or not their interpretation of this... Again, in the new show intro, we talk about how the media has failed. And the media fails us time and time again when it discusses certain things. And this could very well be an example of the media failing to accurately report what's going on with this administration. So take whatever this article says with a grain of salt. I did try and verify it with somebody that I know who works at the VA. As of right now, they have not seen this particular memo or anything pertaining to this. But it basically, the Department of Veterans Affairs says the changes come in response to a Trump executive order, so-called Defending Women. That executive order is the Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, Restoring Biological Truth, the federal government. It was from January 30th of this year, obviously, by the authority vested in me and by the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Purpose across the country, ideologues who deny the biological reality of sex, of blah, blah, blah. Accordingly, my administration will defend women's rights and protect freedoms, except, in all the ways that they don't. A whole bunch of policy and whatevers. Section 3, recognizing women are biologically distinct from men, blah, blah, blah. Within 30 days of the order, Secretary of Health and Human Services shall provide to the U.S. government, external partners, and the public clear guidance expanding the sex-based definition set forth in this order. Each agency and all federal employees shall enforce laws governing sex-based rights, blah, blah, blah. When administrating or enforcing sex-based distinctions, every agency and all federal employees acting in an official capacity on behalf of their agency shall use the term sex and not gender. Secretaries of State of Health, Homeland Security, and Director of Homeland and Personal Management shall implement changes to require government-issued identification documents, including passports, visas, blah, blah, blah. Privacy and intimate spaces, blah, blah, blah. Protecting rights, blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. A whole bunch of BS that it's really kind of difficult to go into the entire thing and see where exactly in this particular part it is actually saying these words. But doctors of Veterans Affairs, hospitals nationwide could refuse to treat unmarried veterans and Democrats under new hospital guidelines imposed following an executive order by Trump. New rules obtained by The Guardian also apply to psychologists, dentists, and a host of other occupations. They've already gone into effect in at least some VA medical centers. Medical staff are still required to treat veterans regardless of race, color, religion, and sex, and all veterans remain entitled to treatment. However, individual workers are now free to decline to care for patients based on personal characteristics not explicitly prohibited by federal law. Language requiring healthcare professionals to care for veterans regardless of their politics and marital status has specifically been eliminated. Doctors and other medical staff can be barred from working at a VA, a hospital based on their marital status, political party affiliation, or union activity. Documents reviewed by The Guardian show the changes also affect chiropractors, certified nurse practitioners, optometrists, podiatrists, licensed clinical social workers, and speech therapists. In making these changes, VA officials cite the president's January 30th executive order. The primary purpose of the executive order was to strip most government protections from transgender people. The VA has since ceased providing most gender-affirming care and forbidden a long list of words, including gender-affirming, transgender, from clinical settings. They seem to open the door to discrimination on the basis of anything that is not legally protected. reason for seeking care, including allegations of rape and sexual assault, current or past political party affiliation or political activity, and personal behavior such as alcohol or marijuana use. The Department of Veterans Affairs is the nation's largest integrated hospital system. In an emailed response to questions, the VA Press Secretary Peter Kasperowicz did not dispute the new rules allow doctors to refuse to treat veterans patients based on their beliefs, or that physicians could be dismissed based on their marital status or political affiliation, but said all eligible veterans will always be welcome at the VA and will always receive the benefits and services they've earned under the law. He said rules changes were nothing more than a formality. However, of course, the only problem here with this text is that they are not sharing the actual text of the documents that they've determined. So take what was said in this, in that article with a grain of salt. That being said, it seems plausible that the Trump administration would absolutely do things that would prevent people from being hired and or getting treatment based on whether or not they're trans in a homosexual relationship and or, are Democrats. So there you go. Take that with whatever grains of salt you need to take it with, but understand the fact that we are heading even deeper and deeper into dangerous territory. And again, more people are going to needlessly die in this country simply because we elected Donald Trump as the 47th president of these United States. Anyway. Oh, do we have somebody else who is constantly yammering about the orange monster is falling out of style? Here we go. Fine again. I'm going to do this every single time a conservative likes to show up and, share their 2 cents and challenge stuff. Oso Duro. The Svampedo is still sore from losing the election. What's Svampedo? What the hell is that? TDS is warping his senses. The only derangement going on right now is the people who are still supporting the treasonous, stupid Donald John Trump and his continued actions. Take, for example, his deportations. He wants to deport people. He claims that he's deporting illegal people. People are not illegal, but there might be people who might be here in violation of our immigration laws. But then what he's done is he's changed the status of people who were already here legally to then deport them, including a young girl who was getting medical treatment to treat a condition. Again, those people were here legally. And now he's kicking them out. There was a citizen, another young girl, a citizen, 4 years old, getting care, got deported. He's deporting citizens. Some information has shown that 80% of the people, at the very minimum, 80% of the people who have been deported have not been accused, let alone charged, with any sort of violent felony. He is not going after the best, or the worst, I should say, of the people who are out there. He's not going after hard criminals. Has the one who killed Laken Riley, has that person been deported yet? I haven't heard anything about the murderer of Laken Riley being deported yet. Have you heard anything about the murderer of Laken Riley being deported yet? Because guess what? If Donald Trump eliminated or whatever, or deported the murderer of Laken Riley, you would hear no complaint from me. Why? Because that person would have already gotten due process, because that person would have already been convicted of murder in a court of law, and that should be an easy enough deportation to do. But no, he won't deport Laken Riley, but he'll deport some gay hairdresser who has done nothing wrong. But he still won't provide due process. And if you say, well, what was their due process when they came in the country? You don't understand what the fuck due process means. And if you were to say that they don't deserve due process, you don't understand what the Constitution means. You say that would work for you. I'm assuming you're talking about the deportation of Laken Riley. Well, why hasn't he done it yet? Huh? He could do that. Nobody would be able to argue effectively against that, but he won't. He hasn't. Why? Because that's not what he actually wants to do. And then what do you think about Donald Trump's statement just this weekend, where he said that he's now not going to start deporting all of these people that he initially campaigned on deporting? He's not going to. He promised y'all that there was going to be massive amounts of deportation. Deportations like you've never seen. But now he's not going to do it. Because all these business leaders don't want to lose. All the farmers don't want to lose their workers. All the people working in the service or owning service industry type locations like, hotels like Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster, those type of people don't want to lose their cheap labor. Because those people know that those jobs are not going to be taken by Americans who would actually want to be paid a at least somewhat livable wage. Because our minimum wage laws have not kept up with inflation. So we don't have, adequate minimum wage laws. Orso Duro, we're going to do what we want to do. Who is we and what are you going to do? No, or Oso Duro, due process is not for citizens. Due process is for persons. Go read the Constitution. Let's pull it up for you, shall we? Because I can't. I'm not going to. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not going to assume that anybody who's still supporting Donald Trump has the capacity of reading. So we are going to read it for you and put it up on the screen. Let's just pull it up. It's not the Wikipedia version, but the Constitution. So you can't argue, well, that's Wikipedia, blah, 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 blah. That's actually something discussing the due process clause and not the due process clause itself. Let's go ahead and let's just bring up 14th Amendment because that's probably an easier way to get there. Here we go. Let's zoom it in a little bit so we can all read together. Everyone in a class can read together. All persons, not citizens, but persons, born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and the states where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. So you would think that the people who drafted the 14th Amendment knew the difference between persons and citizens. And you would think that the people who wrote the 14th Amendment would understand that when, they say certain people are citizens and certain people are not citizens, and these are rights that citizens have and these are rights that persons have. And it clearly states that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. That doesn't mean it's only restricted to citizens of these United States. It is something that is available to any person living within this country. Period. There is no other way to interpret this. You can try, but you would be wrong. It doesn't follow the first part about being born here. There's independent clauses. First sentence. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Period. End of paragraph. End of thought. Nothing else in the rest of this section has to do with being a citizen unless it mentions being a citizen. That just talks about who becomes a citizen. So if you're born here or you're naturalized, you are a citizen. Period. Second sentence. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Colon or semicolon. Again, independent clause. Separate thought. Next thought. nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property, if they only meant without due process of the law, semicolon, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, period. Semicolons work to separate independent clauses. English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Subject to the jurisdiction thereof covers anyone within the borders, except for people with diplomatic immunity. That's the caveat there. So, people who are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, i.e., if you are born in the United States, but not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, i.e., if you are the child of a foreign diplomat with diplomatic immunity, you are not a citizen of the United States, even if you're born here. That's what that means. It's very simple and plain English. There are many other parts of the Constitution that may not be as simple or as plain, but these words here are very simple and plain, and you would think that the simple, plain-minded people who back Donald Trump still, you know, the poorly educated that he claimed to love after the 2016 Nevada primaries, those people you'd think would be able to understand and grasp such very simple, easy concepts as these. But apparently they can't, because in the chat, let the Supreme Court decide. The Supreme Court did decide there, oh so? And you're still free to call in 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. You can call in. You can make your point verbally if you're not afraid. If you're not afraid to be owned by this progressive leftist person right here on Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Call right in. Go right ahead. But the Supreme Court already ruled on it. The Supreme Court clearly stated that every person who the Trump administration wants to deport has to be given a reasonable amount of time to file a writ of habeas corpus. That decision was 9-0. Even Alito and Thomas stated and agreed with the other 4 conservatives and 3 liberal members of the court. Even those 2 crazy conservative extremist activist judges, even those 2 believed and stated clearly that if you are slated to be deported by this administration, or by any administration for that matter, that you are guaranteed the ability to file a writ of habeas corpus and challenge your deportation and challenge even your imprisonment, because you have the right to due process. Because the due process clause is not just for citizens, it's for persons. The Supreme Court has already ruled, pay attention to what's going on in this country. If you actually paid attention to what was going on in this country and cared about what was going on in this country, you might wake up from this, fever dream that you're living in, that Donald Trump is wonderful and great and the best thing since sliced bread, and might realize that he's fucking shit up for everybody. Yes, exactly, Susie. 9-0. Because mudslinging is all you have. They have not what, Oso Duro? What have they not done? Ruled 9-0? They absolutely did rule 9-0. SCOTUS 9-0 due process. I mean, you can easily Google it. Supreme Court recently issued a 9-0 ruling related to due process in the context of deportation, specifically in the case involving Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The court directed the Trump administration to facilitate Garcia's return to the United States so he can receive the due process he is constitutionally entitled to. This decision, rare in its unanimous nature, underscores the importance of due process rights for individuals facing deportation, even those who may have entered the country without proper legal status, according to the Supreme Court. It's very easy to find out. You could have very easily Googled this yourself. I'm interpreting it wrong. You're just burying your head in the sand like an ostrich. One day, tour liberal J-hacks say one thing, the next it gets overturned. Again, English, motherfucker, do you speak it? I am not interpreting it wrong at all. The Supreme Court 9-0 said you're wrong. If you're doing so much winning, why are you sniveling about Trump? Because Trump is a clear and present danger to this country. Donald Trump is dismantling the things that make the country great. He claims he wants to make the country great, but, you know, that's what you do. We're in the middle of frickin' 1930s Germany at this point. We want to make sure it doesn't get to 1940s Germany. You don't sit there and wait around for the bad people to do the really, really, really super bad things. You stand up and fight against them when they start doing the bad things, or even when they tell you that they want to do the bad things. And I understand that to racists, that what he wants to do are a feature, not a bug. But to people who care about others, what he wants to do is deplorable. Also is losing a lot of words to say nothing like Trump. Exactly, 1227th. But he's not even using words. He's not even using the best words. I mean, Donald Trump will even tell you that he has the best words, supposedly. But also, he can't even type correctly. I mean, I don't know if he's on the sauce or whatever. I don't know. But I all have talking points. Talking points. What an old, tired, played out, nothing of an argument. If you can't make your own argument and instead have to rely on the idea that we're using talking points, guess what? That's a talking point in and of itself. You are shown an inability. I've given you, most conservatives won't let anybody on their shows. They only will let dumbass liberals or leftists to call in because they only want to pick the low-hanging fruit that they can manipulate. Some conservatives, to their credit, will let other people call into their shows, but will cut them off rather quickly. I'm giving you an open invitation to come on and call this number, 562-LIBDAN1, and you can make your point. If you don't think you're able to type it eloquently enough, you can clearly make your point in words. You can make your point. You can say. You want us to be powerless also, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we are. We still have a voice. If we still have a voice, we still have power to do things. Yeah. We love censorship. Prove it. Prove me wrong. Call 562-LIBDAN1. As long as you don't start dropping the N-bomb or other racial slurs or bigoted slurs all over the place, you're free to make your point. I mean, if you start dropping the N-bomb, I'm not saying you would, but if you start dropping the N-bomb, I'll absolutely hang up on you. Because that's one of the rules. If you say the R word too, I'd hang up on you as well, because I don't let that. I won't yell. I'll keep it as civil as he does. Or as they do. I'm assuming. However civil Oso keeps it, I will keep it just as civil. Just wait until everything unravels. It's a military operation. Wait till what unravels? What is a military operation? What? What are you talking about? Oh, there's David. David's still here. I knew David was still here. And David didn't call in either. I mean, I could play my parody again, if you need a laugh.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.
You are a liar. Well, I don't know if you're a liar, David, or if you're just speaking out of your ass. I've had times where people in my chat room have absolutely implored me to hang up on conservatives because they thought I let conservatives speak for too long. I have an entire episode where Joe Gibson, a person who ran for office in North Carolina, called in and we discussed an issue for like at least a half hour, if not an hour. He had time to talk. So I automatically call you out on your BS because, you know, I know that you're telling a falsehood because I know the truth, because I know what I've done in the past, and I know that I will do exactly what I say I will do. Unlike Donald Trump, who's spineless and a coward and will never do what he says because he lacks the spine, backbone, etc. to follow through. But y'all still support him. Dan will let you ramble. I mean, I don't know about ramble. I mean, I do let Big Hook talk, but that's because Big Hook has a lot of intelligent things to say. But I'll at least let you finish a couple of sentences. I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself before I make my comments. I mean, if you filibuster, I'm going to probably mute you and say something. I mean, how long did I let Manasseh talk before I had to cut him, before I actually did cut him off? I don't know if anybody else remembers the length of the duration of the call, but I mean, that was very recently and it happened. David, you weren't here. You were here. You must have been here when Big Hook called, and Big Hook called. Now, just because I don't have a lot of conservative callers doesn't mean they're not welcome. But I've welcomed you. Call my bluff. I'll talk like action, like Trump in 2 weeks. Exactly. No action. John Glad. Oh, he's going to do it. Steal all he can for himself and his supporters. That's what Donald Trump is absolutely going to do. Yep. So whatever it said in your silly echo chamber here, just remember you lost the election. Well, there are some people who think that actually Harris won because there are places where Harris didn't get it. But I don't have enough information to actually definitively say that Donald Trump stole this election with the help of Elon Musk. But I'm not, like a J6 protester who comes out and insists that the election was stolen simply because the campaign was taking place in the middle of COVID and, Biden was responsible and was campaigning, virtually. Impeccable living. I'm gonna have one more drink before I start my next one. That's a plan. Atrocious at every game. Does that dude admit that Trump lost the 2020 election? I guarantee you that Osoduro believes that the 2020 election was stolen. I guarantee you. You may call in Osoduro and say that you will freely admit that Donald Trump lost in 2020. Do it. You could say it live on the air. How many days have you listened to my show, David? see. There. Speaking of callers. Hey, Big Hook. You don't get to... apparently, I don't let my callers speak.
Yeah, that's sort of... that's fear talking in place of actual words. But, you know, what can you do with that? Yeah, this is...
I'm now hanging up a Big Hook. Just kidding. I had to do it. And you've been around Big Hook when I've had conservative callers call in, right? And I've let them speak, right? I've probably let them speak for longer than a lot of my listeners would want me to let them speak. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's just it. You know, I mean, if you believe in your convictions, you can say them out loud. If you don't, and you're flailing at it and going, oh, but, you know, everybody's got a but. You know, it's the thing is that...
I think Pee Wee Herman said that. but. Everybody has a big butt. Anyway.
Yeah,
go ahead.
exactly. And I mean, that's just it. You know, I mean, if you can't stand by your own convictions and your beliefs, then what's the point? You know, I mean, this is just it. Free speech is that. But the thing is that here's where they don't like to play the game, because when you get into a fair fight, there's such a thing as accountability, and you can't take back what you said because, you know, people have a long memory, and as they say nowadays, the internet is forever. So, you know, I mean, you make of that what you will, you know, if you don't truly believe in what you're saying. And I mean, yes, you can be wrong, and so long as you admit that you were wrong later on in life because you've learned some valuable lesson, and that you know, that you treat people the way you want to be treated, and that it applies to everyone, then, you know, you're gonna be accepted in society. But if you're not willing to play the rules of the game, and you want to just jump in and jump out anytime you want, you know, you're just gonna run into all kinds of problems. There's just no two ways about it. I mean, what do you want? You want to talk, or do you just want to, you know, put your feelings out there? I mean, yes, I feel angry and I feel depressed. Why? Because I see so much stuff that is happening that is completely unjust and unwarranted. And, you know, I mean, people are getting hurt right, left, and center. Food prices are too high. Gas prices are too high. You know, people are dying in other countries with munitions produced by the United States. But, you know, I mean, what do? I mean, the Russians do the same thing, you know, and I mean, where does this end? This is the thing, you know, I mean, Russians don't negotiate. They go and they destroy everything and take out anybody that disagrees with them, and then decide, oh, see this marvelous place that we've created, and it's like it's a shithole because it's all in rumbles. And then they go, oh yeah, but we can build it again and put our people there, and it'll be a paradise for people who believe and think like us. And I mean, that's, you know, they don't even realize what they're saying.
Wait, hold on. David said in the chat that we voted for a dim-witted president, which I find hilariously rich, considering they voted for Captain Covfefe, the oranges of the COVID-19 virus, United States of America, and the various other brain surgeon things. Oh, wait, my favorite one. I can't forget the favorite one, that if you test for COVID, you get more cases. That testing for COVID is what causes people to get COVID. That's the brain surgeon that y'all support. But go on with, you know, criticizing us wanting somebody else for president.
He's disputing logical thought. right then and there, at which point you say to yourself, he's disqualified from being in a leadership position because he's not using a logical approach. This is acting on ego. That's all it is. He's presented with the facts. He's presented with the evidence. He's been told how situations might play out, and he still does the wrong thing always. Everybody told him tariffs will not work out. They don't. They have to be used very, very selectively to get the expected outcome, and you may end up getting unwanted outcomes on other things as a result. And, despite being told all that, he pushed on ahead. And what can you do with that? You get somebody who doesn't listen and doesn't believe that every time he touches the hot stove that he isn't going to get burned. You can't work with somebody like that. That's just the way it is. If you're not smart enough to figure out that there's a connection that, if you keep doing the same stupid thing over and over, expecting a different result, then, Darwin's award is going to come your way soon. That's just the way it is. I don't know what else to say.
Atrocious Every Game over on Twitch says, Biden was objectively a better president and a far better person. Among other things, Biden didn't pal around with Epstein for 25 years. Excellent point there over on Twitch. I'm sure our two conservative Tweedledee and Tweedledum are not going to make any comments in reference to that. Again, 1277, if notice how none of the trolls will ever discuss Epstein. Come on, David and Oso. Yeah, I mean, they never will, because they know that there are plenty of pictures with Trump and Epstein palling around together. But, that's conveniently ignored by them when they want to make their Pizzagate type arguments. I mean, hell, they'll ignore Pizzagates, all Matt Gaetz himself and his, activities that have taken place where he clearly had some shenanigans going on there that raised eyebrows, at least. Apparently he was showing pictures of naked people to other people on the floor, and, even the Republicans were like, look, dude, that's not cool. And if a Republican tells you that what you're doing is not cool, that's a problem.
Yeah, but this is where the problem lies, is that, once you cross that line, it becomes easier and easier to cross other lines. And this is the problem. The Republicans have crossed so many lines now that there's no pathway back, because they didn't leave a trail of breadcrumbs to find their way home. And the thing is that their message doesn't work with reality. And so as a result, they have to sell you this fairy tale and that things will be okay, I promise. And then when they aren't, they go, well, you were stupid enough to elect me. What do you expect? And it's like, you can't deal with these people because they aren't people. They're, they just basically are, like I said, the orcs. They just want what they want. They don't care who they hurt to get it. It's my way or the highway. There is no negotiated settlement. It's a zero-sum game. I have to win at all costs. And that means that the rich get what they want because I'm in their pocket. That's just the way it is. And, it speaks volumes that these people have not figured out that this is how the game is, and that you can't recognize who the players are and what their actions should tell you. Where do you go with this? And then you could tell these people, and they go, oh, but my mama and my papa, they always vote Republican, and I can't do anything different. You expect me to think for myself and actually come to a logical conclusion? That would be blasphemy. The Bible says it's so. This is where we're at. we're at a crossroads. You either have to shit or get off the pot, one or the other. You know?
Yep.
Where do you go with this? Because, you know, the future is in your hands. You just have to decide which way you're going to go. You're either going to go forwards or you're going to go backwards. And you're going to either make your voice heard and make your vote count, or you're not. And the thing is that we keep telling you and we keep providing you the facts and everything else. And if you just keep going, oh, I don't believe that, and don't do any investigation yourself, then, you know, what does that make you? What does it make you?
Right.
You know, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yep.
You know, and I don't think the Republicans can be saved, because unless they have, you know, some life-defining moment where it all comes to bear and they realize, oh my God, and the only person that's available to help me isn't going to be another Republican, it's going to be a Democrat, and I need to switch sides, they're not worth talking to. You know? Sorry, I get worked up here.
No problem. I'm worked up too sometimes. That's why I have my water right here. Just to make sure I don't have too much of a coughing fit.
Yeah, well, what happens with me is I get the post-nasal drip that runs down the back of my throat, and when I start
is that
talking,
because you live?
I have to
Is that
cough.
because you're more up north or whatever, so you have more colds more easily, or I don't know?
Nah, well, it's pollen in the air. It's everything. I've always been allergic to mites, mites, dust, and all the other pollens and crap. But you know, like, this is you know, like, the education system has really failed because they have not been taught how to think. They don't critically think. They emotionally respond. And the thing is that there are people that are psychological wizards when it comes to brainwashing these people to believe what they believe. And the thing is that they don't have the ability to say, where's your evidence that what you've told me is true? And they won't do it. And I don't know whether it's a question of peer pressure, whether it's a matter of lack of intellect or abilities, or, I mean, hell, a lot of it is racism and bigotry. You know, they want to, you know, the tribal argument has been going around for a long time. Oh, I'm part of this tribe, therefore we're at war always. But, you know, war means you never get ahead. It means that you're constantly fighting, and rather than actually doing other things that benefit all of society, you're, you know, constantly looking for, you know, winning at someone else's expense. And usually that means their health, their ability to pay the bills, their ability to have a well-paying job. Also, that way the billionaires and millionaires can, you know, laugh at you and say, oh, look at all those ants. They're wandering around doing all the work while we sit here and reap the rewards, right? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know, because it rumbles around in my head and I keep thinking to myself, am I the only person that sees things this way, or you know, is this an insane dream that I can't wake out of? You know, it really is disappointing, because you know, it's literally one step forward, two steps back all the time with the Republicans. You know, they just don't get it. And the few things that they do get, like they say, oh, we voted so that way the Republican legislature can't, and we made it an amendment in the Constitution of our state that you have to accept Medicare and Medicaid funds. because, they don't want you to have it, because they know it's the same symptom as what happens in Afghanistan. If you keep the population on the verge of starvation, as well as not capable of actually doing things that can dig yourself out of that hole that you're currently in, then we can control you very easily. And the thing I see is the Republicans are willing victims that want to be, put in the hole. And they, what was it? There was that experiment where the guy went and he took a whole bunch of these fleas and he put them in a jar and he put the lid on top of it and he left them there for a week. And guess what happened? When he opened the jar, the fleas wouldn't hop out. Why? Because they became conditioned to think that I can only jump this high. And I keep hitting the ceiling. And as a result, they don't jump that high anymore. And this is what's happened to the Republicans. They have been conditioned to think the way they think, and they refuse to think of higher aspirations, as well as how to be a cooperative society anymore. At least that's the way I see it. But I don't know. Am I getting too far ahead of myself? And
no, I'm just letting you talk. The more I let you just talk and talk and talk, the more I prove old David and so wrong, but that I don't let my callers talk. So now they're going to retcon what they say, I'm sure, or crawfish, or backtrack a bit and say, oh, you let the liberal leftists talk, but you don't let the conservatives talk. That'll be the next line that comes out of their mouths.
The thing is that I'm not talking. I'm just presenting facts.
I know. Well, I mean, you are talking as a way to present facts.
I see things the way I see things because the facts present themselves that way. I am not spouting opinion with unproven evidence. I am spouting what I know to be true because it's all out there, Oh, I don't trust the government. Why? Because somebody told me not to trust the government.
Well, Reagan said the worst thing in government you can hear is "I'm government and I'm here to help you." That's Reagan, and maybe even beforehand as well. But conservatives are biggest hypocrites because they all love little government, except for when they don't. Now, Oso is in the chat, talking about what. Hold on, let me see what exactly the words that he said, because he says I made a straw man, but let me just have to scroll back a little further. It's to right the wrongs we've endured since the founding. This is a reconstitution. And I'm so like, what wrongs? Losing the right to own slavery, to own slaves? And he's like, nice straw man, which, I had a problem with because he says we only use ad hominems, so I can't be using a straw man if all we use are ad hominems. That being said, I'm just wanting to know what wrongs have been done since the formation of this country that need to be reconstituted or redone or whatever. That's why I keep inviting old Oso or even David to call in. David's like, I'm not going to call in and get yelled at. What's wrong? You don't have
no one's yelling at you. What we're doing is presenting facts.
Yeah, I can sometimes get animated and a little bit, but yeah, I'll be chill. I'll be totally chill. Come on. If look, you can hang up as soon as I start yelling, David. Hang up as soon as I start yelling. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I probably went on more than I should have, but it's, this is the thing. People come to this to learn, and that's the thing. If you're not here to learn, then why did you bother showing up? I want to troll people. I want to tell them that they're all wrong. I can't prove why, but I just want to tell them that they're wrong. I mean,
Oso's like, Oso goes, you're rather selective on what you want to discuss. I have an open phone line right now. You can call in and talk about anything you freaking want to call in about. But, I'm selective on what I want to discuss. Whatever. But no, I mean, you call in and talk about, do I ever limit you on what you're talking about, Big Hook? Have I ever said, let's not talk about this particular issue, let's only talk about this other one?
Well, we disagree on certain things. You know,
Oh,
I believe that the election was rigged and that there was something there because, you know, all evidence points that something was awfully hokey about how it all turned out and how in certain places Kamala never got even one vote. I mean, come on.
No, that is questionable.
You
That
know.
is absolutely questionable. Sure. I'm just not willing to. I'm not willing to definitively say right now it absolutely was stolen because I guess I need more. But I'm not gonna call you crazy for thinking that it was. I think it's reasonable to. I mean, with Musk saying that he could do it, why wouldn't we think that he would, right?
Well, let me give you a perfect example, okay? You know how what's his name, Newton discovered ultraviolet light. You know the story behind that, right? So when he took the prism and he split up the beam so that way the colors were visible, he noticed that there was an area where the colors were displayed that was completely white, but yet it was warmer than the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to surmise that there must be a spectrum of light that isn't visible via the human eye that was making that heat happen. And that's just it. That's where you have to have that ability to surmise that there is something there that you know that the evidence points to, and that's where you know the statistics lie as well, because when the statistics don't line up to what the results should have been, you say something is wrong here. And you know, statistical evidence shows that it's been unlike any other election ever held, and that you know the results were you know don't sync up, and everybody that night felt that something was off because they were like, I don't believe the results. And it's like, you know, like sometimes you have to go with your gut and you have to go, something's not right here.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't add up, you know, and until they find the evidence, you know, I mean, that's the thing. The question is will the evidence die with the person that actually has it or who did the act itself, whether it be the tabulators or, you know, I mean, the question is will they find the malware or, you know, the correction of data, perhaps in the internet stream where, you know, they pretended to be the same tabulating software that told the results. I don't know, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, this is the thing. People spent, I mean, you think about it, right? Like Osama bin Laden, right? He was cooped up in a cave, and they said, oh, this guy sat there and thought for years about how to, he thought, what's the most effective way to bring America to its knees? And he thought, you know, let's crash a bunch of these planes into the Twin Towers and into the Pentagon, as well as the Capitol building or the White House. You know, I mean, you know, when you're left with that much time and you got nothing better to do than dream up evil shit, they come up with evil shit. And I'm sure this is the same case here. But, you know, I've posited what I believe happened, and others have posited, you know, the only thing is that, you know, who's going to do the fact-checking? And then the question will be, even if we fact-checked and we find the evidence, the question will be, will the Republicans accept the evidence that's given to them? Because they don't seem to accept any evidence that's given to them on anything. So, you know, they'll say, oh, well, you know, too late. He's already in power. You can't remove him. You know, yes, he cheated, but, you know, he cheated. He's there. You can't take him out now. I mean, this is where we're at. You know, I wish I could, you know, paint the Republicans in a better light, but I can't, because none of it, makes any sense. They keep saying the same batshit crazy things, and they still believe the same batshit crazy stuff, and it's been handed down from generation to generation to generation. I mean, and you have states that limit the books that they can read. Is you got the Moms of Liberty who want to censor what you can think and believe as well as read. I mean,
which is ironic, because the so-called supporters of liberty, you'd think they want you to be able to read whatever it is you want to read, right?
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's just it. I mean, let's face it. What we're having here is a philosophical argument, and and your philosophical argument relies on, I have some magic beans that'll grow a beanstalk, and then it'll lead up to whatever, and I will come back with a pot of gold that I stole off the giant. And I mean, it's like, dude, do you hear yourself and what you're saying? This is insane. Oh, trickle down economics, that's how it works.
Yeah, trickle-down economics works exactly like this. You give rich people money, and then that's it. Nothing else happens.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk till you're blue in the face to these people, and it just does not sink in. And the thing is they say, oh, you have to have an open mind to be a Republican. And it's like, I think it's the exact opposite. You have to have a closed mind to be a Republican, because you don't believe anything that you're presented with, and that's what it boils down to. You're either open to the scientific method and going with what the results show, or you aren't.
Right.
It's not debatable. You don't get to go, oh, well, I think this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen. And you go, well, I still believe it'll happen. Okay, well, we've conducted the same experiment a million times. Well, I'm sure it'll happen somehow, sometime. It's like, this is the conversation we're having with them. And, and
just to let you know, I'm not airing the actual audio of it, but I'm showing the video of Donald Trump's first inauguration, ever, with all these supposed military folks who are behind Donald Trump, according to Oso, and I'm not seeing all these military folks that are supposedly behind Donald Trump at his inauguration address. So I'm calling Bravo Sierra on Mr. Oso and what he's saying. But hey,
Well, like I said, I deal in facts, and I believe, and I go to experts when it comes to presenting stuff. And then when somebody asks me, oh, well, where did you hear that? I can say, here, here, and here. If you don't believe me, check it yourself.
Right.
And if any discussion I get involved in doesn't contain that, then we're through. Because then it's just anecdotal, which means that it could possibly be true, but it more than likely is bullshit. Because if it doesn't line up with what I know to be true, then that's what it is. It's bullshit. But that's the way it is. I see things for what they are. I go and I do my best to be a critical thinker and to search out knowledge, and and if my belief is wrong, I'm open-minded enough to accept the results if I see the experiment being performed and I see the same result every single time. That's just the way it is. You look at,
thank you, Impeccable Living, for re-upping and for sending 5 memberships. I was so wanting to see a membership go to one of those 2 clowns. It didn't, which is good, but that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but like I said, I just, I look at what has happened, okay? like with, for example, the spare the rod, spoil the child.
Right.
You know, that's just reactionary. Substitution of actual, teaching a lesson. I'm going to beat some sense into you. Yeah. When did that ever make sense?
Right.
I'm sorry. You have to sit the person down. You have to tell the child, this is why we have to do things the way it is. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this to protect you from outcomes that you can't see far ahead enough because you don't have the experience. And this is the thing. These are the conversations that you have to have with children and these people. And I think that's the thing. If you notice, so many Democrats are either people who came from really shitty childhoods who said, I am going to break the cycle and be a better person, and I'm going to do what's necessary to bring in thoughtful, empathetic human beings into the world who will make the world a better place. And this is the way I view the world, But these conservatives, as far as I can tell, they still believe in the same other system, which is, oh, I'm going to beat some sense into you. And it's like, you just get, and it leads to nothing. It leads to this cold, stalwart, non-thinking existence where they just don't do things. And, and you say, oh, and as soon as you turn your back, they steal it. They steal something from you.
I've been trying to use my Liberal Den Radio account to have more conversations on like more political pages or whatever. And there was this one talk about the people that want the violence. I wanted to get that out before we moved on. Is the whole there was this one person who just was had no problem with the idea that of the reporter getting shot by the police officer. And when I said you have a problem with the reporter getting shot, well, she shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have put herself in a dangerous situation. The cop shouldn't have raised his freaking gun and aimed it at her and shot her when she was doing nothing wrong. But she still doubled down and was just she shouldn't have been there. If she wouldn't have been there, she wouldn't have gotten shot. That's how it was rubber bullet, but that's how, I'd say bloodthirsty, but that's how these people just love violence. They are just so obsessed with violence and think that violence is the answer to every single problem that they have. That they have no problem seeing it done. And that's why you saw what January 6th happened. That's what you saw with January 6th, is that their solution to the problem that they saw was violence.
Exactly. Hang Mike Pence. Where's Pelosi?
Yeah.
I'm going to go in. And if I can't find her, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to steal her mail and I'm going to shit on her desk.
Right.
Now, what does that tell you about the person?
David says, wait, hold on. David says, you don't care of nothing but hating Trump. We all call that a sickness. No. I care about a lot of things. I care about, innocent people who have, need health care, getting the health care that they're supposed to get, that they came into this country legally to get. And now Donald Trump and his administration is taking that legal status away from them for no other reason other than him being a cold-hearted asshole. And if you could sit here and just defend that, then that's not sickness on our part, yo. That's sickness on your part, David. That's sickness that is mental derangement on your part. So whenever y'all say TDS, you are projecting the derangement that y'all have in your addiction to the orange felon on us, because you can't you can't explain why y'all support him, I guess, other than the fact that he makes you feel good in certain places. But yet you can't fathom the idea that we have actual working brains that actually use critical thinking skills and analyze the situation of what's going on in this country and say, oh, these are things that are going on and they're in violation of our Constitution and we should not be supporting them. And that's why we oppose everything that he's pretty much doing. I'm not going to say every single solitary thing he's done is I'm opposed to it, because on this program, there was a right to try thing that he supported where he basically said if somebody had a situation where all the other things were exhausted, and they wanted to try some new some trial that the FDA was in the process of approving, that they should be able to try it if their doctor thinks it's all right for them. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought that was fine. Donald Trump implemented something during his first term that would have given cheaper EpiPens and insulin pens to people who went to certain federally funded clinics. Now, when he did the math, it only helped maybe like 1/3 of 1% of the entire population, but I thought it might have been a good pilot program, and I wasn't going to be critical of him for doing that, because I'm not going to criticize somebody for doing something simply because I don't like the person that did it. If in fact, I think it's more important when somebody you don't like does something you approve of,
Yeah,
you should
but the
speak up
problem
and say,
is that
yes, I approve it.
It's talked up to the point where they believe that it's much bigger deal than it really truly is. And that's the thing. When you present them with the statistics and the number of people that he actually helped, it comes down to literally
Dozens.
less than, than nothing almost. I mean, as you said, it comes down, it only helps like what, 2/2% of the population that actually need the help.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing with the Medicare requirements or Medicaid requirements, where they say, oh, you got to make $27,000 only, and you need to be working 80 hours per week, and you have to be able to document every single hour, and and it's like it's an impossibility, And this is the thing. It's the one that gets me is all the the Latino guys that went and voted for Trump. And I'm like, you realize that it's going to be your turn in the barrel pretty quick here, because
especially the one that, that he was all Latinos for Trump, and now he's sitting in his facility waiting to be deported. Good for you.
Yeah.
Couldn't have happened to a worse person. Happy it happened to you.
And that's just it. They're all going to find the FAFO part is coming around, and I mean, it's like you got empty shelves coming soon. You got, everything that we said is coming to fruition. That Trump is incompetent, that things are going to get worse, things are going to get more expensive, that you think you're going to get something, but you're going to end up with nothing in the end. And that's the thing, right? I mean, because in the end, he'll say, it's sort of like that old tale. He goes, 1 for you, 2 for me, 2 for you, 5 for me, 3 for you, 10 for me, and then this is just it. If they don't see it, it's always the same. He promises something, but he wants the majority always in his favor. And, he's playing you like a fool. And the fact that you can't see it, doesn't bode well on you. And you say, but we won't let you talk. And it's like, because you won't acknowledge the fact. If you don't acknowledge the fact, we got nothing else we can talk about, because we are presenting you the situation, you got, and
Hold on, wait. Michael Barto in the little chat goes, hey, Aaron, show me a video of Trump asleep at some meeting. While I have a picture of Donald Trump asleep at his own parade. Right on the screen, right there. There's a picture right there of Donald Trump sleeping at his own parade, and the person in the chat is like, show me a video. It's
like I said,
they're terrible at this. They're so bad. That's the thing that makes me the most mad. Is like not that, the fact that, Donald Trump supporters try and prove themselves worthy of the love that Donald Trump said he has for them in 2016, when he said that he loves the poorly educated. It's the fact that they're able to win after proving themselves to be so inept. It's just so. That is the frustrating thing. That they can be so stupid and fail so miserably like that. They could fail so miserably like that and still win.
But that's just it. You have to have a starting point of a factual context by which you can go, and you can argue one way or the other. But then in the end, you take that experiment or that fact and you run it through to its conclusion, and you say, well, this is true, or you say, at the moment, all evidence points to this being what is true. You can contest it and then test it in some other way, and if some evidence comes out that what we believe is not true anymore, then we'll accept that. But then once again, it can be tested again and proven to not be true again. But that's the beauty of the scientific method is that things are what they are until we come up with a better answer. And that's just it. You can't go back to something that's been proven false and say, I believe this, I don't believe that. Once it's been, proven, it becomes the standard by which everybody else has to try and live by, because otherwise we're stuck in the cave and we'll never move forward from that point forward. And, and they seem to want that. I don't know. Maybe there's that Neanderthal gene that dominates their makeup. I don't know, but that's where
they wanted a video, and he just woke up and then he went back to sleep right there. See, they wanted a video. He was sleeping, then he woke up, and then he went back to sleep. So dozing Don at his birthday parade. So they're not gonna. You could tell them, Donald Trump could piss on their leg and they'd believe it when Trump said it's raining and that it's not really his urine. So, as Donald Trump says,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Anyway, so.
Well, I guess I've gone on way too long, and it's probably past your kids' bedtime. So
they go to bed by themselves. They go to bed by themselves. It's all good in the hood. But if you do want to head off, I'm sure I will definitely give the other folks the opportunity to call in. There's now more conservatives in the chat helping out the algorithm. So I thank each and every one of you conservatives for coming into the chat and helping out the algorithm. Because as we say here in Liberal Dan Radio, Al Gore does need more rhythm. So thank you for helping that. But thank you, Big Hook, for calling in again and helping to prove these conservatives wrong yet again, that I don't take phone calls and that I don't let people who call in talk. So, of course, they're going to...
But that's just it. You want it. But what do you want to talk? What do you want to do? The question is, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about proven facts, or do you want to talk about stuff that you believe but you can't prove?
Well, David's just going to call in. David's probably just going to call in and say that Biden has no brain and repeat that 17,000 times. So, I mean, that's not going to be a very useful conversation. So... I mean, he's already said that 17,000 times in chat, give or take a few thousand times, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Marco Barto in the chat says you don't know the difference between a picture and a video, and I just shared the video. So there you go. I'm sure he'll come up with another excuse as to why I'm wrong. But again.
Well, that's the thing. That's the danger that I have with the AI is because now they're going to say their excuse will be, oh, it's got to be AI. They can fake everything. And it's like, yeah, and that's where I don't like AI. You have to have, and that's why you need accredited journalists who go and put out content that is legitimate and hasn't been doctored, is complete with full context. Otherwise, it can be manipulated. And I mean, this is the game that we're playing. We're playing with the Chinese and the Russians who know that they can cut and paste and they can make anything look the way they want it, and with AI, you won't know if it's your mother or if it's AI, and, you can be conned into doing all kinds of horrible things at your own peril, I mean, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
I like Hal and what he talks about with AI, but it scares the living shit out of me because the problem is that I don't see it being utilized for the benefit of humankind to the highest degree as they all claim it's going to do. I see it being used in the opposite fashion.
I have my concern. I have my concerns with it as well. I'm 50-50 with it. There are uses for it. I mean, clearly I have uses for it because clearly I used it to create those two songs, and I've used it to create some images or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a tightrope there to walk, and I think with all technology, you have to be careful with it. You can't just be all gung ho and blind looking at it. There needs to be, I think there does need to be regulation, even though some people have said that they do think that it should be unregulated for a while. I do think that there should probably be some regulations in there, but we can't count on Republicans to do that because, well, you know, Republicans hate regulation. So anyway, but thank you again, Big Hook, for calling in. Appreciate you. Let me comment to
no worries. I hope I haven't put all your people to sleep at this point.
That's fine.
They're probably sick of hearing from me, but anyway.
I mean, Josh said he wants a new caller, but that's fine. Whatever. We'll get you next time.
Okay. All right. Well, take care of yourself. And, you know, I felt that the conversation needed to be elevated to factual content versus opinion, because opinion without actual facts or evidence is just that. It's an opinion. It's an unproven opinion. And, you know, I'm sorry. I will roll my eyes at you until you can prove to me that it's actual fact. So that's the way I roll.
All right. Well, Thank you so much again for calling in. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. You're head and shoulders above the rest.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Now, of course, Michael went ahead and said something about, there's a video of him with his eyes closed and you saying he was asleep, but there was one of Biden or whatever. Yeah, okay. I'm not disputing that there was video of Biden asleep. I'm saying there was also video of Trump asleep. So if you're going to be critical of Biden sleeping, you should also be critical of Trump sleeping. I'm not sitting here spending all my days mocking Trump of taking a nap. But if y'all are going to say, oh, well, Biden took a nap, I'm going to be like, well, Trump did too, and y'all don't say a peep when Trump does it. And yeah, y'all right now are completely have annoyed my mods, and my mods have free reign to do whatever it is that they want to do in the chat. So before you start going, Liberal Dan censored us, no, my mods have full right to shut y'all up if they think you're being too far, and that's what I trust them to do, and I fully trust them to do whatever they want to do. But again, you're free to call in, and none of y'all have done it, because all of y'all are all hat and no cattle. All talk, no action. Y'all can sit there and say all you want all day long that you believe that I'm going to yell at you, and you believe that I'm going to censor you, and you believe that I'm not going to let conservatives call into the show. But I've sit here and I've had my phone number up and running, and if you would have called during Big Hook's call, I would have told Big Hook that I was going to switch to the next caller, and I even said that at the beginning of Big Hook's call, but y'all are too cowardly to call in. What can you do? And there's going to be some point where I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to have to hang up and go to bed and get to work in the morning and all that good stuff. And what'll probably happen is 5 minutes after I hang up or I end the show, you'll be like, well, I was meaning to call in, but I didn't. But before I end the show, I did promise Jolie that I would talk about a particular story. And some people do remember the story, but if you remember earlier on the show, I did play the alternate version of one of the songs that I made of the new Liberal Dan Radio theme song that was using Bryan Adams' Summer of '69 as a muse other than Judas from Chris Jericho and Fozzy. And so and I said in my moderator chat, I said that I hate Bryan Adams, even though I hate Bryan Adams. And she's like, Jolie's like, what? You hate Bryan Adams? And I'm like, well, I don't hate his music per se. I just don't like the individual as a person. So I promised Jolie that I would tell the story about why I hate Bryan Adams. It was the first anniversary of me being married to Cassie. So this took place in 2008, 17 years ago. Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't hold a grudge, apparently. I guess you might say I have BADS, Bryan Adams Derangement Syndrome, I guess is what they would call that I have, or whatever. I don't know. But we're at this concert, and we go to the concert, and the sign at the Will Call, because for some reason we had to pick up our tickets at Will Call, not for any fun reason like I did for the Izzard concert. But the sign at Will Call, where I picked up the ticket, said no flash photography, no professional video equipment. I turned off the flash immediately so I didn't make a mistake, and my camera was not professional at all whatsoever, so I'm like, all right, I'm good. So at some point in the show, I would sit down, like there's very limited seating area in the House of Blues, and there was a whole bunch of people like recording them with their cell phones. I mean, this is 2008 cell phones, but still they were doing it. Earlier on in the show, he made some comment about how the summer of 69, he was 3 years old in the summer of 69, or in 1969, so therefore the summer of 69 was not about the year 1969, it was about something else. And then he had asked, who here has my new CD? And this one woman was like, woo! And she goes... And he goes, oh, you must be the one. And then he noticed that this woman had, like, very large breasts and cleavage all popping out. And he was like, oh, you must have been what they used for a personal flotation device during Hurricane Katrina. And everyone's like, oh, very funny, la, la, la. And then all of a sudden, he looks over at me at the side of the room with my little camera taking a picture. He's like, I better not see this on YouTube. And I was this close from saying, based on his comment from earlier, maybe if I posted this on YouTube, you'd have more than one sale of your new album in the state of Louisiana. But since this was an anniversary gift for my wife, and I didn't want to ruin the night for her, I decided to just shut it. Which is weird for me, I know. And the bouncer dude or security guy came over and was like, no filming. And I was like, I made big old deep voice. I'm like, the sign at the ticket pickup place at the Will Call said no professional video equipment and no flash photography. I've turned off my flash. This is not a professional video equipment. No filming. I'm like, that's fine. You go tell everybody else over there who's standing right in front of that stage with their cell phones the same thing. To his credit, he did. And then 5 minutes later, they continued recording them with their cell phones. Meanwhile, Bryan Adams didn't say squat to them. Meanwhile, I'm the one who had to be pointed out and embarrassed in the middle of the show. I'm sitting there fuming the rest of the show. So from that point on, I've not listened to Bryan Adams for more than I've ever had to. So that's why I don't like Bryan Adams and I don't listen to his music anymore. Although I did use Summer 69 to get that song, and apparently that made the song sound like a Mentos commercial. So there you go. Let's see. Anyway, so I do think it's about that time. It's about damn time to end the show. So I am going to turn on the Do Not Disturb and turn off the phone calls. And now, of course, they're going to be like, well, you said you were going to take our phone calls, and then you turned off the phones just as soon as Amir was about to call in. Liars. If anybody says that now, you're a freaking liar, because I had the phone lines open for how long now, and y'all didn't call in, so conservatism is just a bunch of cowardice and projection and hypocrisy. So anyway, unlike normally, we will play 2 songs going into the end of the Twitch show. We will play the Liberal Dan Radio theme song and the parody. Yes, atrocious of every game. It is a bunch of malarkey. So we will go ahead and play those 2 songs, and then after those 2 songs are finished, we will end the Twitch stream. Of course, the YouTube stream will end about 5 minutes later. So thank you all so much. nerdydan.com on Twitch tomorrow night, Tuesday night, then back here Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, here, liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com to watch the show there. Otherwise, thank you all very much for watching, for participating. Thank you for our lovely trolls for helping the algorithm for as long as you did and bringing all the malarkey that you did. So anyway, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Peace.
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, the animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk comes the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him Liberal Dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best, 'cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best, 'cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.